And many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is a late show with Andre Walker. My goodness me, I couldn't believe the news that the Dover dip, where people all jump in and have a swim on Boxing Day, was cancelled this year due to high winds, and nonetheless 500 people returned back to Dover having finished it. Bit of a migrant joke there. Anyway, not very good. Anyway, look, let's get straight into the show. I'm going to introduce you to my guest co-host in a couple of minutes, but you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to go straight to Charlie Mullins, because Charlie has been talking about what's been going on in Britain and has described London as a crime-infested hellhole, and he blames Sadiq Khan for this. Now, look, Charlie, you are pushing on an open door with me, but let's just be clear. You are one of London's most well-known businessmen. You've built a successful company, built a second one now. What is it about Sadiq Khan that you think has been so damaging to London?
Well, probably most things. I would say he's probably the worst mayor we've had in 2,000 years. You know, what he's done to, he's actually stopped London from moving with the traffic, with businesses, with people wanting to come into London. And he keeps claiming that London's safe and that. And he's obviously lying. I mean, there's no two ways about that. The figures are being fiddled. Crime has gone up 50% in 10 years. We're getting one rape every hour reported. And you know yourself, the stabbings, the muggings, the thieving. And I believe, you know, one of your presenters today had their bag stolen in London, Alex Phillips. And yet all he keeps saying is London's a great place, it's safe, it's a wonderful city. It's a complete hole, isn't it? And, you know, it doesn't convince people like me. And yes, I've moved to Spain. And yes, I'm in Dubai at the moment, so I'm between the two of them. But I still have family that live in London. I'm still a British resident, so I still have my say on it. But
they don't want people like you, Charlie. They don't want people who are wealth creators. They don't want people who are patriots. They don't want people who believe in the family. What they want to do is they want to bring a population from the third world to live on the social. And then Sadiq, the fact that London is a dump doesn't bother you if what you're used to is Mogadishu.
Well, that's right. I mean, they don't like anybody that tells the truth, and they don't like people that are not prepared to put up with people like Sadiq Khan. I moved out of London because of the Labour government. He's obviously Labour anyhow, and he's made the matters worse. And people say to me, why did I open up a new company, We Fix London, in London? Well, the reason I opened it up is because we was probably preparing it 18 months before Labour got in. But if I'd known Labour was getting in, we'd have been in We Fix Dubai now. He's absolutely destroying businesses. Rates are going up. He's not looking after people. Unemployment is going up. He's not looking after any youngsters. He's not doing any fair rent. He's actually destroyed London. One man single-handedly has destroyed London. Businesses, and that's why people are moving out, because it's unsafe and people like Sadiq Khan are running the show.
Well, I think the worst thing is this. All of us who have good jobs, and obviously your job was better than mine, but nonetheless, anyone who does well does believe in supporting the local community, does believe in helping out the local poor or whatever. You know, people now who pay for social housing in London, that does not go to the local community. That does not go to British people. The majority of social housing in London now goes to people who are born abroad. And so what will happen now is you get your Charlie Mullinses of this world who want to do an apprenticeship in plumbing, and that's not being supported. They can't get a decent home. They're being called racist all the time just because they're a white kid. They're having their statues pulled down. They're having their history mocked, and they're being told, even though the property that was provided for them by the community because they're poor, even though that's coming from being given to somebody from abroad, they're nonetheless supposed to apologise to this person for slavery that they had nothing to do with. I think it's a disgusting racist mess.
Of course you're right, and as soon as you speak up, they get on your case, start calling you a racist and all this nonsense. It's not about race, it's about facts. And, you know, I've paid in over 100 million personal tax in the years that I've worked in London. I've lived and worked in London for over 70 years, and I don't look old enough, but I am. And I'm not prepared to pay any more for the fake asylum seekers, the illegals, the migrants, the Ponces, the lazy bastards, the benefit cheats, and people that don't want to go to work. And I'm not prepared to pay any more, and I'm not paying any more. I don't need to pay any more. I'm non-executive chairman of We Fix London, therefore I'm not on the payroll. But of course, we comply with the tax regulations in the UK. And of course, we still help charities out and employ people and still have apprentices. But, you know, I get so much stick off people for speaking the truth, you know, and they're saying to me, why are you knocking our capital? Why are you saying this about it? You don't even live here. Well, I'm saying the truth. The place is a complete dump. The man has ruined it single-handedly. And, you know, let's not even go down about the grooming gang nonsense where he was telling
No, Charlie, I'm sorry. There are no grooming gangs in London. Sadiq's told us. There's no special task force at the Met. There's no special funding for grooming. The Metropolitan Police area is the only place in Britain that has no grooming gangs. Now, I'll tell you what that says, Charlie. That says that the Mayor of London would rather disguise the rape of children than be honest about his multicultural fancy having failed.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's happening. And why he's not being held account for it, I don't know. I mean, for me, he should wind up in prison for the rest of his life.
Yes.
I mean, if he'd have opened his mouth up and said the truth, and probably many young girls would not, you know, had to go through what they've gone through. I mean, he's, you know, I have to be honest, the guy's a liar, he's a fraud, and the quicker he's removed, the better. And you know, how we have put up with him and what he has done to London, to businesses, and you know, as I think I said to you earlier, that a rape every 1 hour is reported, but not a problem. We have loads of cycle lanes and loads of roads we can't go down. And according to him, the emissions have dropped, which is a load of rubbish. They've gone up. I mean, they're doctoring the figures. And if people can't see that, then, you know, then I honestly don't know what else I can say.
But I find the odd thing. So as you know, Charlie, I leave here at 1 o'clock in the morning, and obviously I have to get a taxi back or a car back. There are traffic jams at 2 in the morning on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I will tell you, because Transport for London have deliberately set up the road network to ensure that day or night, no matter how few cars are on the road, there's always a traffic jam.
That's exactly it. It's like he's done it intentionally. I mean, he come in with the idea about emission, that it would cut it down. He's increased cost of working in London. He's destroyed businesses. And while you're saying it, you know, still, you know, unfortunately, young women being raped at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning in London because we don't have enough police. He runs the police show, and yet he won't let them get on with anything. As soon as they get involved with something and stop someone in that, they're called racist. Don't do this, don't do that. I mean, And we put up
I mean,
with
how
it.
long, Charlie, let's be honest, they're not going to arrest a grooming gang rapist, but how long before you're arrested for offending Sadiq Khan on Twitter? Surely that's going to happen. I mean, the extent to which you care is interesting. But fundamentally, I know what Sadiq Khan's like. He'll be sat there thinking, I've got to get that Mullins, I've got to do something, and he'll be trying to get the police to arrest you for a dodgy tweet.
Yeah, look, I know what I'm saying. I've been told off before, something I said about him. Of course I don't like the fella. Of course I think it's a waste of time. I don't wish him any harm, but he's destroying Londoners. He's destroying people. I'm not sure I'm going to get arrested because I'm only speaking the truth. But on saying that, you know what they're like. They're all dodgy anyhow, aren't they? They're all like working together and looking after each other. But, you know, undoubtedly he has destroyed London. And when these people keep coming up with how safe it is and all that nonsense, I've had people on to me today that have been robbed in London. Not today, they've been because they had a good watch on, been run over by a car. I mean, your phone goes in London, your watch goes in London, your bag goes in London, your bike goes in London, your car gets nicked in London, you get sexually abused, you physically can be abused there. And nightlife has absolutely destroyed it because of he's cut down on licences, he's increased costs on rates and that for buildings that can open, and everything closes down in London now. I mean, it used to be a 24-hour city. I would say now it's probably 15, 16 hours. That's all you've got of London.
Well, look, Charlie, you're a tough person. You're somebody who's willing to go out and speak your mind. But how sad do you feel about the demise of London?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I'm gutted, if I'm being honest with you. Absolutely gutted that a once great city that, you know, I'm born and lived for over 70 years, brought family up, employ thousands of people, apprentices, and to see it go down the pan that it's going, it's heartbreaking. I can't actually, you know, I don't want to go into London because of the mess of it and what I see and what I have to put up with in there. And, you know, of course I would help to get it back. You know, if and when he's gone and Middleton gets in, and then when Nigel Farage gets in for reform and they start turning the country round, I'll happily come back, employ people, help apprentices, help youngsters in the work, and do as much as I possibly can.
So you've already said that you're backing Ant Middleton for Mayor of London. What happens when he is looking for deputy mayors, specifically the deputy mayor who's going to look after rebuilding business in London? Is that something you'd accept?
Well, I think we have to cross that bridge when we get there. But as I said, I'm all for helping youngsters to get into work. I'm all for apprenticeships and, you know, how to train people. So, you know, let's just see if he gets in there. But I will do anything I can to help London get back on its feet.
Do you think it can be saved?
Of course it can. Undoubtedly. I mean, we mustn't dare sort of think it can't. I mean, what we've got to do is mass immigrate deportation straight away. We've got to get rid of 50% of what shouldn't be here straight away and gradually get rid of the other 50%. And then we've got an opportunity to look after our own people, get the NHS going, get people back into work. Yes,
so, Charlie, let me just be clear on the mass deportation. So, is this your list? Because I think this would be my list. Anyone who's claimed refugee status in Britain where the war is over, I think you've got to go back to your country. All of the people claiming asylum who've come from safe countries like France, all gone. All the illegal migrants gone. All foreign criminals gone. And I think if you put all of that together, now, I'll be honest with you, if you come as a migrant to Britain and then you steal a bottle of Volvic 20 years later, I'd still deport you because I don't care. I just think...
I'm in total agreement with you. You know, undoubtedly, I think the giveaway is the word illegal. I mean, that's enough. You know, all these doctors and engineers, they're all losing their passports and paperwork when they get there. I mean, let's be fair, they're coming there for benefits. Stop the benefits, we'll stop the boats. It's simple.
Well, I have to say, Charlie, the one quiz question we ask every single guest is this. What is the #1 holiday destination for people after they receive refugee status in the United Kingdom? And the answer is the country they fled. That is absolutely right. So the first thing that most people do after they get refugee status in Britain is go on holiday to the country that they said they had to leave, otherwise they'd be killed. I mean,
look, kid anyone, London was a great city at one time, and of course it can come back. But you've got to have proper British people there. You've got to get rid of all the ponces, all the people that shouldn't be there, all the people that are taken out of the pot and not putting in the pot. You've got to get rid of them.
No problem, Charlie. That's fantastic. Also, love the old school use of the word ponce. Anyway, that is Charlie Mullins, who is the boss of We Fix London and somebody who's a great patriot for this country. And I hope will take a role if Ant Middleton wins the mayoralty of London. We'll be back just in a couple of moments.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker. Asher Gould is off. He takes every religious holiday off. Not sure about why he takes Christmas off, given that he's Jewish. But anyway, who knows what's going on. He's probably listening to his favourite Blazing Squad track right now in his house in Eastbourne. OK, we have got a guest co-host in, though, who is Curtis Hinton, who is a broadcaster. Curtis, before we start, why don't I just ask you for your impressions of what Charlie Mullins said?
Do you know, when someone of the status of who Charlie Mullins is, and people will discredit him because of what he believes for British values, he's nail on the head with everything, right?
Yeah.
Without
100 million. He's paid 100 million in tax.
He's an OBE. Okay, we'll probably get onto that point later on in the show, but he's an OBE. Like, he's not been given that lightly. He's not a celebrity who's been given
Although
it just for the sake of it.
He did say online it cost him a fortune, which does slightly...
That's just dinners at the Ritz, though, probably.
No. To be fair, he was taking the mick, wasn't he? But then again, Sadiq Khan got the knighthood, and after he accepted it, he said that he was stupid to accept it. Went anyway, though, didn't he?
Didn't give it back.
Yeah, that's just totally pathetic.
But he's right. He's a man who's given so many apprenticeships to so many young... I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he holds the record for the most number of apprenticeships.
It wouldn't surprise me.
He just believes in this country, and you can see. And to be driven out of the country... If Ant Middleton's the reason why he comes back, then maybe he should be the Mayor of London.
But what about people listening right up and down the country? Because neither you nor I live in London. And I have to say, everyone who's sat there saying London is the problem have missed the fact that pretty much everywhere, I'll tell you, I was saying this last night, where I live, obviously there's 100 flats, 23 were given for the poor of the area. Those flats now, every time somebody moves out, are being allocated to somebody who's a new arrival in Britain. And in fact, they were going to throw all 23 British families out in order to move people in from Pakistan, who literally, not who arrived 6 months ago from Pakistan, literally currently living in Pakistan and getting now. The legality of that is questionable, but nonetheless, that is what is taking place.
It's ridiculous. You know, is this their plan for integration? Because it hasn't worked, is it? Let's face it, integration in this country hasn't worked, and that's why we've got such a divide in the country.
But if you look at, and forgive me, I'm opening the can. If you look at somewhere like Yugoslavia, what actually happens is people don't integrate. What happens is you get the Serbian area, you get the Croatian area, you get the Bosniak area, and I believe that's what's increasingly happening in Britain. There's very few people. It's not to say there's very few people who live in mixed areas. I think a lot of us have a non-white neighbour. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Okay. But you can't get away from the fact that there are large, what David Starkey calls effectively tribal areas, where you go, this is the Muslim area. I mean, if you look at Tommy Robinson, who everyone moans about, okay, if you look at that part of Luton, I say this because you're from Bedfordshire,
yep.
But if you look at that part of Luton, whatever you think of this man, good, bad, or anywhere in between, there is no doubt that the ward he comes from in Luton is now virtually a no-go area for white people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ultimately, if it's your streets and the place you used to come from, and now you're not able to go there, you're going to get pretty upset.
It's the disrespect, I think, as well. You don't mind welcoming people to your community. You talk about areas as well, tribal areas. The tribal areas of people who aren't from the UK are much bigger than tribal areas, if you want to say, of white people in the UK.
Yeah.
We have villages. They have towns and cities.
Yes.
How has that happened?
Yeah. That's right. I suppose that's right. If you want to compare when they go, the countryside's all white people, well, that's right. But Birmingham is... But actually, I think in a sense, we were talking last night about the fact that it's not really related to the colour of your skin. The reason is because, as an example, people from the Caribbean find it very easy to integrate into Britain. Yeah. Same legal system, same justice system, same language, same religion virtually. Same religion, slightly different religious denomination. And they find it easy. But I just wonder why we don't turn around and say, well, some country, you get more credit for coming from a country that would find it easier to integrate into Britain. So as an example, if you are a migrant from, I don't know, the Netherlands now, where every university lecture is conducted in English, right? You're going to find it quite easy to integrate into Britain. Yeah. If you say, well, somebody from Afghanistan, we are judging two similar applications exactly the same, one from the Netherlands and one from Afghanistan. I would say to you, well, favour the person from the Netherlands because they're going to find it easier to integrate.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense, does it not? But the issue is, I don't think it's even about integration. We're talking about the illegal migrants. They're coming over here, and there should be no plan to integrate them. It should be a plan to detain and then deport. That's as simple as it should be. We shouldn't be thinking, as you said, 200 flats, 10% of it has to go to port, 5% has to go to someone who's just stepped foot in the country or is currently in the middle of the channel.
Yes.
That shouldn't be the case. It should be, it is literally one route going to the deportation centre. Look at what happened in America, the ICE, when they went in and did it. And how many migrants are now trying to cross the border? None.
Yes.
And that's fact.
But what about the number of Syrians that have come to Britain? Somebody suggests 1 million. That sounds high to me.
Quite high.
Imagine it's one. Doesn't matter. And basically, you fled Syria because of Bashar al-Assad. Fine. The man has fled.
He's got
and now now these Syrian refugees are going, yeah, but we quite like it in Britain. Yes, but the whole point of a refugee status, as far as I'm concerned, is you go to the nearest safe country in order to go back to your country of origin, because that safe space has to be made ready for other people. But now the plan is, if you say you're a refugee, you pick whichever country in the world you want to go to, and you stay forever.
It's like picking a holiday. A couple of years ago, we went to Tenerife. I went to Tenerife with a few of my friends, and we met a Ukrainian lady over there who had children. She'd been moved to Tenerife, right? She's not trying to get over here. She understands that she has to go there. And once the war's ended, we asked her, she's planning to go back. So her husband and her son, or her brother was there. But it's the different kind of mentality. They are coming here not for refugee status. They're coming here for the perks they get, and they are perks. It's like getting all-inclusive for free. It's like if TUI gave you a call tomorrow. There are other travel companies. I don't know if you have to say that.
No, I don't care. I literally don't care.
If they turn around and say, we'll give you a free holiday, or you can pay 30 quid and you're going to go Butlins for the weekend, you're going to take the free holiday to Tenerife. Of course you are.
Yeah. Well, at one point, and I don't know what happened in the end, they were saying that in September 2025, i.e. September just gone, Krakow was going to need another 30 primary schools because the number of Ukrainian refugees. Now, isn't it amazing that Poland wasn't that popular with Eritreans and Syrians and all this sort of thing? And I always give the example of Moldova. 10% of the country were Ukrainian refugees. No refugees had gone to Moldova previously. The reason is because it was the poorest country in Europe. But of course, Ukrainians go there because they just run over the border. I mean, the women that I met on the Ukrainian-Polish border, if they could have pitched a tent literally next to the border guard position, they would have done that because their men, their husbands, their brothers, and in some unusual cases, their fathers were fighting in Ukraine. They wanted to wait. Now, of course, they couldn't sit on the Polish border in a tent and survive. But that's the only reason they were getting into cars and moving. It's the only reason they were going. That's the only reason they were going 100 miles, let alone jetting across the world.
Yeah. Do you know, I think the whole thing comes down to the honesty side of it. British people are being treated like we're stupid, and we're being told that it's not fighting age men coming over. It's women and children from war-torn. It's not. And that's the thing, and that's what's so frustrating, and that's what's driving British people.
What about this Stephen Barrett thing, where he's talking about misconduct in public office, where he's saying that if you are, let me get this right, if you are a judge, an immigration judge, and instead of doing your job as an immigration judge, you've actually got the job because you're an activist who believes in 100% immigration and no borders. If it is later proved that actually you approved people to come to the United Kingdom or to stay in the United Kingdom who weren't entitled, then you could go to prison for misconduct in public office. Should we start those prosecutions?
Oh, without a doubt. Without hesitation, because you're meant to be impartial. You're meant to be going by the law, not what you want.
I mean, I believe at 87% approval, what they must be doing is this. I'm sure what they're doing is, it's not, have you got a good case? Have you got any case at all? Have you got any argument? So if you walk in and say, my son doesn't like the chicken nuggets in Albania, done.
That was in my mind as well. Just show
exactly.
you how pathetic it is.
If I ran over a child, but if you deport me, it'll make my cat sad. Approved. You know, the other example I gave yesterday, I've molested my children, but if you deport me, I won't be able to see them on a regular basis. Approved. I mean, they don't want to see you. I mean, like...
Not allowed to see them either.
Exactly. Yeah, you're allowed to see them through a glass barrier at the local council. I mean, basically, I mean, it's unbelievable. There was one guy who said, I've been done for grooming, I've been done as a paedophile, but if I go back to my country of origin, they'll beat me up for being a paedophile. And you go... I'm not even against that. I'm not even against it. I mean, I can't encourage violence, but I'm not even that bothered. Right? Oh, let's avoid that. No, let's not. Crazy.
That is exactly. But you said it first. You said it before. At the end of the Charlie Mullins segment. Where is the first place they all go on holiday?
We're back to the country from whence they came. When we're going, I mean, I didn't mean to be rude when they're going, this war in Sudan, British nationals have been left stranded. And I saw them and I thought, I mean, they were all in the... I mean, no, without being funny, I'm just going to say this. They were all in the gear as well. I mean, they weren't even wearing British clothes, right? They were all in the gear. They were all expert level on all this. You know what I mean, right? They're in all the proper garb, right? And you thought, what have you done other than claimed a British passport? And what a lot of them do, and I'm not saying this is universally true, nor am I saying I know how many of them do this, but there is a major problem in East London where you get your benefits, you get the flat, move out, sublet the flat to the white guy who would have got it had you not been there, and then just live back in the country from which you claimed your refugee from which you escaped, rather. I mean, that's unbelievable. So basically you just go, right, it's going to take me about 5 years to get this. Once I've got it, get out of the country, go back to Albania, then I'll get my, what is it, £2,000 a month for me and my kids, plus the rent on the flat. happy days.
Why is there no system in place to follow these people? They are coming into this country. We don't know where from. They're undocumented people, and we're giving them houses. We're giving them food. I am all for making sure that no one is left on the street to die. But when we're leaving our veterans on the street, homeless in this cold weather we're facing at any time of the year, to be fair, doesn't matter if it's middle of the summer, but yet we're giving these people priority. This is where British patience runs out. We're the most patient. We're the only nation in the world that queues. You go anywhere else in the world, you stand in a queue, someone else jumps in front.
That doesn't happen. We don't queue anymore in Britain, do we? We don't queue for the bus.
In London, we don't. No, we just throw ourselves in front of everyone else.
I thought what was interesting was you've got to remember there has been a conflict in Northern Ireland, and I know it's a slightly different situation, but both the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland, or rather, better way of putting it, both the Republic of Ireland and England and Scotland and Wales have taken large numbers of effectively, I mean, an internally displaced person is not a refugee, but nonetheless, we've never balked at people leaving Northern Ireland to come to Liverpool or Manchester on the grounds they don't want to be there for the Troubles. We've never done that.
But I think it's the level of expectation from them. They don't expect all of this for free. That's the difference. So they don't just walk in and demand it with an attitude, and I think that's the slight difference.
I mean, some Northern Irish people have got an attitude. I've met one or two of them. OK, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, but what I do want to do when we come back is to talk about this. More Brits say that you have to be born in the country in order to be truly British. I disagree with this, by the way, but I'll explain why in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Curtis Hinton. And Curtis, OK, let me read this. 1 in 3 people now believe Britishness is something you must be born with. A poll has found that's up from 1 in 5 2 years ago. More than half also think being born in Britain is an important part of being British, whilst a quarter of those surveyed said it was not important at all. Here's me. I reckon you don't actually have to be born in Britain. I think there's two things. I think being born in Britain, in some cases, doesn't make you very British at all.
Yep.
Particularly those born in, as I say, the tribal areas, places like Nelson, places like Birmingham, whatever, those particular bits of it. So I think it doesn't necessarily make you British. However, I always give the example of my mate who was born in Jamaica. Came to visit his family, joined the British Army whilst he was visiting, which you're allowed to do as a Commonwealth citizen, and has ended up in the Guards Regiment for his entire career. I mean, he's clearly completely British, even though he wasn't born in the country. I think what people are saying is, it's time to end this ridiculous situation where we just say, let's give a passport to someone, the British, like this Egyptian bloke. I mean, he's clearly just an absolute wrong-un, right? Islamic fundamentalist, hate-filled extremist. Give him a passport, he's British. Oh, we need to support our British people. Get him out.
Yeah.
Get him out.
Yeah. I'm on the same camp as you. I don't think you need to be born here to be British. I think you've got to have our values, and our values are something that's key. Shared rules, responsibilities. The NHS worked well, and it worked well because the people that needed it were the ones that we knew actually needed it, not just like lived off of it. And that's the issue. Like with the NHS, when people are going, it's broken, it's gone. It comes down to British values. People who work and pay taxes don't mind paying for those who can't work, if they genuinely can't work, and that's what it is to be British. It's about supporting each other, the community side of it and the value side of it. When people come here with their own values and ideologies, which essentially makes you and I dead, let's face it, that's a fact, that's when it's not British.
What about this, which is going to, I know which way our viewers and listeners are going to fall on this, but I believe you can have either uncontrolled immigration or a welfare state, but you can't have both. So if you turn around and say, we're going to continue our immigration policy as it is, but we're going to abolish the NHS and abolish all welfare, I wouldn't be happy with that, but I would at least say that's a sensible position.
Yeah.
But if you have an open door policy and a huge incentive to come here, it's just a disaster. Now, as you know, my preference would be to keep welfare, to keep unemployment benefit, to keep the NHS, but to close the doors. But it's got to be one or the other, Curtis, surely.
Well, we haven't got an empty pot of money, have we? The NHS was hit over COVID. Before COVID, we had backlogs. Look at it afterwards. And now we're letting all these people in with, again, no disrespect to them, but with God knows what. We don't know what they might be bringing.
Yeah.
Like, if we're looking at another pandemic, which I'm sure that they will release in the next couple of years, we're inviting these tens of thousands of people over on a weekly basis. What on earth are they going to bring over here?
And people are going to think that that's a potentially quite extreme view, but always remember something. When you are coming from a part of the world that has limited healthcare, then, there will be all sorts of things. There might be... I mean, I saw at the Elephant and Castle the other day, somebody with rickets. Right, now rickets is old school. That is old school, which for those of you who don't know, it's malnutrition in your childhood leading to your legs bowing, right? So now that person, because of malnutrition in whichever lovely part of the world he came from, we're going to have to treat him for life for his disability. Now he's come to Britain. And so it then comes down to what was said by Tunisia. When, I forget which Tunisian politician said, the reason that Tunisia has turned brilliant and has become so much better is because all of the poor and the fundamentalists have been moved to France. I mean, the Islamic world's improved. And also somebody else says, why do the 56 Islamic countries not take Islamic migration? Oh, you're wrong. They do. They will take decent people. They will allow doctors, lawyers, and engineers in. What they won't allow in is the penniless, unskilled losers. Those people end up in Europe.
Even from the UK, though, they won't allow that from Europe either.
No.
So it's just a bog standard threshold, if you like, across it. And why not? Like, a place like Dubai, almost like a tax-free haven. There are small taxes people have to pay. But there's a reason why it works so well, because they are picky with who they allow in. When you have an open door policy...
they have a different immigration bit as well, don't they? They have the construction workers sort of throw 50 of them off a plank if someone behaved badly. But, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I mean, what you're talking about is the difference between people who are allowed to be residents and people who are temporary construction workers.
Yeah.
But look, we are now in the midst of an experiment in Britain to say, if we take the worst educated, the poorest, the most backward, the most religiously intolerant people in the world. We put them in a British city and give them benefits. Will they become a highly successful and motivated asset for the British? And the answer is resoundingly no.
No.
And the answer is no.
I'd like to see who argues the opposite to that. I'd like to see exactly what stats and
well, no,
data
Keir Starmer believes that everyone in the world is the same. Culture and history don't matter. Religion doesn't matter. The only reason, as an example, the Yemenis are firing missiles at boats going past is because they're poor and they've been abused by Zionists and Westerners. That is the view.
Yeah.
I mean, it's garbage, isn't it?
I mean, the fact he's allowed this Egyptian man back in the country.
Al-Fatah. I mean, he sounds... It was like that guy... It was like that bloke. It was like that bloke who attacked the Manchester synagogue, Mr. Jihad. I mean... That was your first clue, wasn't it? I'm not being funny. Oh, do you reckon Mr. Jihad and his family will be any good? No, I'm not being... Do you know what I mean? Right? It's like, oh, hello. What's your name? My name's Mr. Islamic Fundamentalist Terrorist. Oh, brilliant. You'll be perfect. But that Jihadi John, Mohammed Emwazi, his dad was a terrorist. The son was a terrorist. It's a great family tradition.
Yeah. Andre, do you know what... There's no one who can actually argue for them. Like, they genuinely can't, because surely...
No, at LBC right now, they're trying it.
I didn't know if we could talk about, though. I didn't know if we could talk about it.
No, we could...
The issue is...
That James O'Brien will be having a crack, won't he?
This is it, but why? How? But it's almost like they're just trying to be on the opposite side.
What was really interesting was Alex Phillips today mentioned about her bag being stolen.
Yeah.
And somebody from the BBC tweeted back going, isn't it amazing that it's only ever you lot that end up... His name's David Aranovich or something. Isn't it amazing that it's only ever you lot that ever have a problem? No, that's not true, because, and I'm not being funny, we have not got a large number of black 14-year-olds who've been rubbed out by knife crime. We don't. Not in this studio. But I guarantee you, out on the streets of Brixton, they're dying in unprecedented numbers. And the problem with David Aranovich, or whatever his name is that he would rather turn a blind eye than save these children.
It's willing ignorance.
That is the reality, isn't it? That's the reality. I mean, you know, Sadiq goes, knife crime's not out of control. I mean, it is, OK, it's not exclusively black kids, but there's a fair number of them, and they're dying in unprecedented numbers, and every single year there's more of them. And you know, the so-called anti-racism brigade, the so-called Black Lives Matter brigade, don't give a toss.
And it proves it, because we're a country with the most charities in the entire world. We have the most charities.
Is that right?
And we have a lot of ones dedicated to black children in knife crime. Now, that's not being racist, that's just a fact.
Yes.
I couldn't name a single charity that is for white children with knife crime.
Yeah.
Like, just purely dedicated to that. I don't get me wrong, these charities aren't going to exclude white children, I'm sure. But they are dedicated, and that's what they go for. Clearly, because there's a reason.
But the reality is about black kids and knife crime, as far as I can see, it's about inner cities, the inner cities of this country, which have become worse and worse and worse.
It's how they survive.
And I guarantee you, the Metropolitan Police are more interested in Graham Linehan's Twitter account than they are about stopping the murder of black children.
Yeah.
Now, if you think... I mean, when Sadiq Khan sits down and acts like Mr. Morality, it's completely reprehensible.
I don't think any of these children go out one day and think, you know what, I'm going to kill someone today with a knife. And that's the difference. Whereas someone is sitting... Yeah, they are having that because they feel they need to have that, and they use it in self-defence. And I'm not in any way... what's the word I'm looking for? Defending them having a knife. No one should have any weapon on at any time. Like in an ideal world, no one have any weapon. But come on,
I disagree with that, actually.
No?
Can I tell you now? I think pepper spray should be legal in this country. The reason is because the police have given up in most parts of the country. You are not safe on the streets.
Under what circumstances could it be used, though? Surely it has to be very strict. So, but then to any attack, Alex today would have been able to use her pepper spray.
Well, but the point is, in your hometown and in my hometown, you know, they say, oh, well, there's no police anymore, but don't worry, we've got CCTV. Half the time it's too low quality and they're not watching. Yeah. Right. You know, if you get accosted in the street in your hometown, the simple solution is to have a pepper spray and to eat the guy. Yeah. That's it. That's what
run.
because ultimately ultimately, you know, you're just not. Nothing's going to happen. What the police will do. By the way, Charles Amos was on here yesterday. He's a unique-looking man. Have you seen him?
I did catch yesterday.
Yeah, he looks like 1975. But he was making the point, given that the police have given up policing the streets, actually, what if you were to privatise the police force, what you would do is you would each subscribe to which criminal investigators are going to deal with your crime after it's happened. And I'll tell you what, I would pay for the full-on nasty squad. And basically, the lefties could pay for the ones that sing Come By Our and run lesbian diversity training days. And my one could be the one that goes after the bad guys. And there'll be and he was saying, in the old days in Manchester when they had a private police force, people who had on their house, I subscribed to apparently the Barnet Police Force. Apparently, nobody ever touched them because they knew they'd have problems. Whereas what actually happens now is I pay my tax for the police. They don't police. They don't really investigate anything either. And they're just more bothered about tweets and Graham Linehan's getting drunk and talking about transsexual people, which I didn't even read anyway. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know, a friend of mine has just got in touch to say he sees kids going out, British kids going out into the street in this cold weather wearing not enough clothes, you know, not having all the winter gear and whatever. He says there's real poverty in this country, but nobody cares as long as the migrants are sorted. But I'll tell you something else. Do you want this Christmas a pleasure-orientated digital companion in order to explore your sexual health? Well, the good people of Kenya have received that courtesy of the British taxpayer, because we have spent £41 million of your money on a pleasure-orientated sex chatbot for Kenyan teenagers. They apparently get to discuss their sexual interests with the chatbot, and they can do whatever it is that they want whilst they're chatting. Is this very much what I would describe as left-handed use of the mouse.
It's aimed at those between 18 and 24 as well. Like, who is actively thinking, right, we need to figure out what these guys like? Like, in the UK government, and it is Labour.
Hang on, can we get the Kenyan sex bot app? Can somebody try and right, let's ask my AI assistant. Right. I'm currently on air on Talk, and I want to download the Kenyan sex bot app so I can demonstrate it live. What is its name and what is the link to it? Right, let's see if we can find this. See if we can find this, Curtis, because I think we should have some fun with the. But I'll tell you what. Whilst I'm trying to do that, why don't you read some of the other things that British taxpayers have paid for this year through overseas aid?
So it says in the report, it was from the Daily Star, it said, in its latest bizarre tech report, we forked out for the following in the footsteps of other projects which have received taxpayers funding, including Pay As You Chill, cold storage unit in Zambia, and smart contraceptive vending machines in Nairobi. And MPs are now asking why taxpayers' money has been wasted on such schemes, including £52 million, right, spent on a road to nowhere through the Amazon rainforest, and also to push to stop ocean plastic pollution in landlocked African countries.
Wow. I've got a friend of mine who's an aid worker in Africa, and he said he went out, he was trying to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies and indeed the case of HIV. So he's got this condom and he's got this bamboo and he's demonstrating the condom, and he goes, if you do this before sex, I guarantee you will not get pregnant or spread AIDS. And he went back a year later, and they went, well, it hasn't really worked. And they went, every time we're about to have sex, we stick that on one of the bamboos outside, and nothing happened. And he said there was just this forest of bamboos with condoms on top of them. So these blokes had gone out, got frisky, put the bamboo.
Do you know what it is? It's because our government has set precedents over there of such stupid things. They probably thought, look, he must have got about 30 million quid for this, so he's come over here to show us the modern technology over there.
Yeah,
that's what's happened.
What about the Somalian Spice Girls? Do you remember them?
I don't. To be fair,
we funded. Well, I mean, actually, I'll tell you one thing. I remember Viscount Monkton. Chris Monkton came on. That was the woke that was years ago, and he said, "Look, whenever there's a new social movement come about, it must be a foreign intelligence service that's behind it." Right. So, when he was talking specifically about the trans issue, and we all thought he meant, and I think he thought he meant, the Russian government, that the Russians or the Chinese were deliberately trying to undermine the United Kingdom by supporting things like woke, by supporting things like Extinction Rebellion, by supporting things like the Trans Initiative. And he was right. It was a foreign government funding the trans thing. It was the Americans. But the American taxpayer did not know they were funding it. It was only when Elon Musk discovered US aid was buying all this stuff. And we are doing it exactly the same thing across the world. We are funding some most horrendous pieces of behaviour. I mean, a Kenyan sex bot. And by the way, you can't get it openly on the Play Store.
Yeah, to get a VPN, I'm sure you'll be able to access it.
No, you can't. It's not been released to the public. Oh. You have to go to the sex bot man and get it individually.
It says it was designed to encourage safe sex in Kenya, which is the third highest HIV epidemic. The developers said the chatbot helped young Kenyans to access information on sexual pleasure tips, and there's a strong interest in information on how to give and receive sexual pleasure.
But without being funny, has any money been spent on sex before marriage is a bad idea? I mean, without being funny, which, by the way, is our tradition. We're a Christian country. Yeah. No, what we've said is, what we've basically said is, don't worry. It'd be something like, don't worry, you won't get AIDS if you do oral. It'd be something like that. I'm not joking, right? And I know that's everyone at home is grimacing, but that's what they will have said. They won't have said the major problem here is promiscuity. They won't have said try and find a partner and stay with them for life. They won't have said marriage is a good thing. They won't have said any of those things.
It says here, topics of sex and pleasure made up 70% of the total number of views found on the app. So people weren't using it for that. If it was on there, 70% of people were using it to get tips on how to improve their game.
That's right. And actually, in some respects, I mean, the other thing is, of course, when we started teaching, when we started doing sex education in school, the number of pregnant teenagers increased. Fact. Now you can say all day, well, we need young people to get access to information. Well, let me tell you, the Amish community, who never talk about sex at all, work it out, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, also, you think back to your teenage years. You know, you kind of got it. You didn't need somebody to go, this is what's going to happen.
You knew what.
You suddenly went. She's interested in me in a way she never did before. Right? Do you know what I mean? It's not like you suddenly go. I wonder why that happens. Right? It all becomes very obvious, doesn't it?
It's quite self. And these days, I mean, that was like I grew up in the noughties, but these days. Like, you grew up in the 60s, but it was... but like, they have it just... Like, we've got phones in front of us. They can search... If they have a question about the autonomy, they can search it.
A question? A question? I mean, actually, our main job, I think, is to tell young people that what they see on the internet is not real.
It's real, yeah.
That if you do the following to your girlfriend, she'll probably imprison you.
Yeah.
Right? All the stuff. Because people see all this porn and they go, oh, I think this can happen.
Reenact that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you reckon that's why people cheat more these days? I mean, this is getting a bit more. People want that exciting sex life they see on porn.
Well, I think when Eileen gets to about 70, she's going, oh, I'll tell you my favourite story. My cousin used to work for the Catholic Herald newspaper, and he said he went round interviewing women in Liverpool about what it was like to be a Catholic woman just after the Second World War. And he said, one of them said to him while he's writing away, he goes, oh, I'll tell you what, I won't do the Lily Savage. She goes, oh, I'll tell you what, oh, that Eileen down the road, bloody hell, she had 9 kids with him, and the other was going, oh, bloody 9 kids, terrible. And she goes, in the end, he'd only let her do it. She'd only let him do it with him. She'd only let him do it once a year on his birthday. And the other one went, he did look forward to it, didn't he? He did look forward to it.
I tell you what, he didn't need that sex chatbot to get himself through the rest of the year.
It's absolutely right. Okay, Curtis, so what are you up to at the moment? Where can we find you?
You can find me on X. I've got a lot of stuff kind of working on at the moment. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to be a bit coy with it, but you'll have to be back on and I'll be able to tell a bit more information.
You've got your own magazine?
I do have, yeah, I've got my own magazine, Hinton Magazine.
What type of magazine is it?
It's not is it
a Ugandan sex chatbot?
Do you know what? I wish it was. I'd like £41 million to come through to our accounts, but no, it's not. It's a lifestyle culture magazine. Peter Barnes, who was on your network, he's a
regular.
He's a writer for us, yeah. So he is.
What's he write about?
He writes the hidden.
It's about some of his nightclubbing experiences.
He writes about the hidden topics of politics and all different stuff.
They should get him writing about his nights out. They are all very, very exciting, very exciting indeed. I've seen some very spirited photos. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But Curtis, you are planning to do something this year, which I hope is going to be a bit of a game changer in media. So good luck.
Again.
Oh, sorry, next year.
Yeah, technically next year. Yeah, but it's get some good new faces out there, get some good content out there, and ultimately get the truth out there. Get people having conversations like this, Andre.
And the final thing I want to ask you about is the honours. I said last night. Very few honours for people perceived to be right wing. Christopher Biggins is a good example, but also the lady who was the chief content officer responsible for the lies about Gaza. She has received an OBE.
When someone a show has been taken down for serious editorial errors within the BBC, they don't admit anything lightly, and to be given an honours, it gives the wrong message. Absolutely right.
Who would you give an honour to?
I would give one to you, Andre.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
Would you? I would. I think it's still time to knight Nigel Farage.
I think that let him get in power. Let's see what he can do.
Also, and I'm not going to say who, but there's somebody else who I would alter the rules, because I believe there's somebody who's contributed to this country, even though he's been in court and in jail multiple times. I think there is a hero of this nation who does deserve a little OBE, even though he's been naughty in the past many times. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? He's from Luton. I do believe. Look, you're not meant to give an honour to somebody who's broken the law, but I think if you've done this much for the country, in the end, services to justice. There we go.
I'm not sure Nigel would agree.
No, they wouldn't. Okay, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much to Curtis Hinton. I'll see you just in a mo. Oh, yeah.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies. Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview. Oh, there we go. I'll go on this go. Oh, there we go. All over the place. This is the press preview with Andre Walker and Phil Dave. But before we start going through all of tomorrow's front pages, let me just say one of the criticisms that was made last time, Phil, of you and I when we appeared together. We attempted...
Criticism, I don't believe it for a second. We're faultless.
you went to midnight mass at Southwark Cathedral. Yes?
Well, I tried to.
Yes, you did. Now, can I tell you the problem with that?
Well, there was no midnight mass.
Somebody got in touch saying, how can you call yourself a Christian station when you don't know that the Church of England don't do midnight mass?
No, that's not true.
Well, that's what somebody said.
No, that's absolutely not true. No, that's absolutely not true.
See, my answer to that was, I'm Catholic and you're Jewish.
No, that's absolutely not true. You're quite right. It is more of a Catholic thing, but there are absolutely some denominations of Church of England that do celebrate midnight mass. It just so happens Southwark Cathedral was not one of them.
Phil, that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen of your career, and I've seen some bad ones.
I'll live with it. I quite enjoyed that. I was going to say, got the views. Isn't that what we care about in this day and age?
No, we don't just care about ratings. It was supposed to be the ecclesiastical televisual event of the year.
I want it known for the record. I nearly freeze my toes off because of that.
Well, that's only because you've got no...
It was so cold.
But you suggested it.
No, I said I was going to go to midnight mass. You were the one who said that you wanted it filmed.
Yeah, but the critical point was that midnight mass existed, right? The fact that I wanted you to both visit and film was not the critical point, Phil.
I was going to say, shall we just crack on with the press? And midnight mass was a couple of nights ago, wasn't it?
So, front page of the Daily Express. I'll tell you what. I've been making jokes just to get you warmed up for this. European judges are attempting to take on the Shamima Begum case. There is an absolute determination to bring this woman to the UK, assuming she's not here already.
Well, I was going to say, no one's going to rest until... Well, no, it's not no one. That's not true. These lefty, tree-hugging lovies are not going to shut up until we bring her back. But Shamima Begum's UK return bid was revived as Strasbourg judges challenged Britain's stance on the jihadi bride. Do you know what? It's none of their damn business. Back off, mind your own. Could you just imagine if we start sticking our beaks into Strasbourg? Right, just seriously, we don't want this cretinous individual here. She's a terrorist sympathising lunatic.
Well, she's not a terrorist sympathiser, she's a terrorist.
Her anywhere near the UK. It's bad enough we've welcomed that Egyptian terrorist back now, and now we're going to start welcoming her. Just back off.
The worst thing is about Shamima is if she comes to Britain, she will be venerated as a hero, won't she?
By some, maybe, but I won't. I'll see her as the devil incarnate.
She'll make millions. She'll make millions in appearances.
For sure. 100%, because you just know full well that there'll be someone from The Guardian just waiting to jump in, and allegedly waiting to jump in and to offer her an interview to get the exclusive. Oh, seriously, just the thought of her makes me sick, because actually, if you ever need to know how she's playing the media for the fools that most of them are, is that when she went from wearing the full get-up to now wearing a baseball cap. Just back off. You don't fool anyone.
Do you think the baseball cap is actually an attempt to wear something acceptable in the West that still supports her jihadi views?
Yes, because she's got her head covered. Don't be fooled.
No,
there is a reason why she's not being shown without her head uncovered. Is because she still believes that as someone who follows certain aspects of Islam that not every peace-loving Muslim does follow, she thinks she's
let's just be clear.
Her head
she's got nothing to do with the peace-loving anything.
Well,
I mean, she is. I mean, the other thing is about her. The reason that Shamima wants to come back to Britain,
she'll have an easy ride.
Plonk her back.
Because she's realised everywhere else she goes with her, with what she sort of stands for and what she believes in, no one's giving her the easy ride that Britain would.
Yeah, she wants to plonk herself on the social. She wants to get her podcast on the BBC about how we can deal with extremism. And it's true, though, isn't it? And she's going to make an awful lot of money. When she said, oh, I'm very happy to come back to the UK, well, I'm not very happy. I think what she should do is what we originally proposed. She should walk to the nearest British consulate or Bangladeshi consulate, which is in Turkey. I think it's about a 400 mile walk. We should let her walk there. And that's it. I think she's a disgrace.
I literally don't care what happens to her. I don't want her anywhere near this country.
She. Let's be clear. She is doing the things that she's doing because her terrorist organisation has been defeated. I mean, what they did to those Yazidi women, selling them for sexual slavery, the beheadings that she watched. I mean, she was, okay, you can say, well, she didn't kill anybody. We don't know that for sure, by the way. But what she did was she went to Syria in order to join a terrorist organisation. Now, I've always said...
She wanted to marry into ISIS. Like,
yes.
Literally, what more do you need to know?
By the way, people keep telling me off for this, but at talk. But let's just be clear. We should not be having one rule for us and a different rule for others. British nationals should be subject to the same law as those people who are from Syria or Iraq. And in Syria and Iraq, the punishment for terrorist offences is death. I support local prosecutors in their attempts to bring her to justice.
Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite because I spent most of the morning, the mid-morning show where I was on the weekend, saying that I openly support capital punishment, and I've never made that any hidden secret. But I would argue that for as long as we don't have it in the UK, I don't see that as a fitting punishment for as long as it's not part of the judicial system. But my argument would be is that if you've got an individual who has not even been subtle in her attempt to go and rejoin a proscribed terrorist organisation and marry into it and live that lifestyle. And, oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. No. You've not made a mistake. You knew what you were signing up for crying out loud. I don't care for a second whether she was 15 or 50. She knew what she was doing exactly the same way that we try and give 15, 16-year-olds enough credit to be able to vote in general elections now in this country. You cannot tell me that someone who's 15 years old is not mature enough to know the difference between someone who believes that the only possible answer in life is to go around killing anyone who doesn't agree with their religious extremist views versus someone who actually wants to be peace-loving and a civilian of this country.
But when you say, oh, she can't be held responsible because she was 15, let's think about this in law. Let's think about this in law. If she were to be put on trial for terrorist offences in the UK, which she probably hasn't committed any in the UK, but imagine she were, what the benchmark would be...
She's openly supported it.
But the benchmark would... But abroad. The benchmark would be...
She still supported it.
Can you... Yeah, but she was abroad at the time, therefore she was not in jurisdiction. But
I don't care Hitler was abroad.
Sure,
I don't want him
sure,
here.
But you can't... My point is, if you were to prosecute her in the UK, here's what the benchmark would be. Could you demonstrate, because she is a child... Could you demonstrate age 15? Could you demonstrate age 15 she was capable of understanding that terrorism was wrong? Right. I mean, that's not a very high...
No, prove to me that she didn't realise what she did. Not prove she's innocent.
Sure,
prove that she's not guilty.
But the point is, in order for her age to be an issue, right? She would have to be able to show that she was incapable of A, understanding the difference between right and wrong, and B, understanding that terrorism was wrong. There is no prospect of that happening in court. Why that's an important issue is this. All of these people saying the fact that she was 15 would make a difference. It wouldn't. It wouldn't make any difference whatsoever.
No, the people who are saying that the fact that she was 15 makes a difference is those who are desperately clutching on straws, because these are the tree-hugging lunatics who believe that everyone deserves a second chance in life and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. No. Do me a flipping favour, and sorry, I nearly said something else there. Do me a favour. Like, the fact that this individual, regardless of what her age was, deliberately wanted to go abroad and marry into a proscribed terrorist organisation who is vehemently against all of the values that we hold so close to our hearts here in the United Kingdom. I don't want her anywhere near this country, and as far as I'm concerned, we need to use her as an example to say that anyone else who thinks like that and behaves like that, get out. We don't want you in the UK. You're not welcome here. End of.
By the way, in the Guildford bombing, a 14-year-old was convicted, and let me get you... It doesn't really matter what his name was. You can convict a young person. She's a terrorist.
Well, look, it's very simple. I mean, we shouldn't have a juvenile jurisdiction or like a juvenile... what's the word I'm thinking of? So we shouldn't have a juvenile criminal justice system, for want of a better terminology, if we don't believe that someone who is underage can commit crime. Do you see what I mean? Because otherwise we just let all juveniles commit whatever crime they want. It's irrelevant.
So the rules are very simple. If you are under the age of 7, then they
Juvenile judicial system.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah. So if you're under the age of 7, you cannot be convicted of anything. If you're over the age of 7, then what happens is you have to demonstrate, are you capable of understanding the difference between right and wrong? And are you capable of understanding that what you did fell into the category of being wrong? It is an important issue. You go round to any 15-year-old and you say to them, do you believe that terrorism is wrong? They will all know that it is. So she is a terrorist.
Majority.
Well, I don't think... What 15-year-old's not going to know that terrorism is wrong?
Well, certainly ones who hold true British values would know that terrorist activity is wrong. She never did. She wants to go and join it. She subscribed to it. She's guilty, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure, but if
maybe not according to a course of UK law.
So you think she'd be found not guilty?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I believe that someone could be guilty of treason without actually being proved guilty in a court of law. You know, the way I look at this is, as much as I understand that the vast majority of crimes deserve to go through a court of law and absolutely deserve a fair hearing, but there can be some crimes that are absolutely there is no mistaking. Why are we going to waste taxpayers' money on bringing this threatenous individual back, running her through a court of law, only to be found guilty of the crimes we all know she's guilty of anyway? Why are we wasting our time?
Well, we're not going to do... Well, my dad reckons she's already here. My dad reckons Starmer has brought her in and there's an injunction.
Well, and the judges... To be perfectly honest with you, after the way that Starmer could welcome Al Fatah back with open arms, who knows who he's...
Oh, he's well up for it. He'd love it. He'd love it. But here's the real problem, of course, the elephant in the room, is that the Kurds are the people that got most British nationals, and unlike the Syrian army, they don't just shoot them, and there's no death penalty in Kurdistan. I think, personally, hand her over to the Syrian or Iraqi authorities. I think it is Syria where she was, and they can give her the death penalty as far as I'm concerned. But I keep getting banned from saying...
I just don't care where she goes. I don't care what happens. I just don't want to hear. I literally don't care.
But that brings us on to the President Trump problem, which is these people have to go somewhere. Now, my view is the gallows.
Not here.
No, but
they don't have to come here. I don't care where they go.
No. To be fair, the argument that President Trump is making, you can't leave Syria responsible for all of these terrorists forever. My answer is give them all the rope. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with giving them the rope is we, thank goodness, live in a country that means that for that kind of severity of punishment, you'd have to prove someone to be guilty of a crime worthy of that. Unfortunately, as the British law stands, is no crime is worthy of the punishment of the rope. But I would personally say that that's something that should be brought back. I think that for treason or for terrorist-related activities, I genuinely don't think that those individuals should be lucky enough to breathe the same air that we do. Now, whether you interpret that as being that they are given the death penalty, or whether or not that is interpreted as saying that they should not be in this country, you interpret whatever you want.
Well,
I don't want them here. I don't want them here.
I support what I call Shamima's law, which is this. In order to help people like Shamima Begum, I believe in a multicultural society, we have to accept that treason is not realistic anymore, and therefore you should have the right to defect. And it's very, very simple. What you do is you indicate that you wish to defect, and you are given £1,000 and the flight to the country of your choice in exchange for your British passports. And then that you are not prosecuted for treason, but you will never return to the United Kingdom. I think the right to defect should now be allowed. But the critical point is, it makes somebody... The reason why I call it Shamima's law is because it will help people like Shamima to understand that whilst she will be supported in going to the country of her choice, she will never return to the United Kingdom. More on the press preview after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, you know what? During the break, we're never going to stop doing that now, are we? During the break, me and Phil Dave were having a bit of a discussion. I've said many incendiary things on this show before today, but I believe that anti-Jewish racism is now British value. I see it all the time out and about. I now see Jewish people afraid to walk down the street. I see the Star of David being something that will get you beaten up. If you wear your skull cap, you're going to be in trouble. And our main political party is an anti-Jewish racist party, our governing party, and there's going to...
I'm sure they'd deny that. But
and at the next election, there's going to be an Islamist insurgency, where, towns like Slough will end up with an Islamist MP. Anyway, something to think about. But I say it, of course, with the greatest sense of anger and frustration, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves. Anyway, talking about racist anti-Semites, The Guardian front page.
And again,
this is the press preview with Andre Walker and Phil Dave. Talking of racists, here's The Guardian.
Dear, dear. Right, anyway, yeah, I'm sure they would argue otherwise. Primary care crisis blamed as A&E visits for coughs and hiccups surge. So apparently millions of people are turning to A&E departments in England for minor ailments, including coughs, blocked noses and hiccups, according to data that health leaders say lays bare a failure to give patients prompt access to primary care. Now, I think that we can all agree that for as long as people don't have easy access to GPs,
yes,
that this is not really a wonder that they're going to A&E.
Nope.
Because, look, at a very basic level, if someone is unwell and they're scared of what that might be, of course they're going to go and seek help. And if they can't seek that help from general practitioners, guess what? They're going to go to A&E. The only thing I wish that we would do is I wish that we would actually make better use of pharmacists, because pharmacists have, at the very least, to have basic medical training. They have actually quite advanced medical training, most of them. If we were to turn around and say, look, if you're unsure, if you're a bit worried, you can't get a GP's appointment, go and visit your pharmacist, because actually they'd be able to help you way more than you think. But
see, when I was a little boy, what used to happen was...
what a memory.
If me and when I was a little girl, I'm trans. No, I'm joking. But when I was
there'll be a turnout for a book, a trans talk presenter. Could you imagine?
My name's Andre.
Andrea Walker.
That's my trans voice. Anyway, no,
please can we move on? When you were younger, yes.
Don't worry, they're not listening. Okay, but. When I was a little boy, me and my younger brother would fall ill and whatever, take the day off school, and Mum would take us round to the GP, same day appointment. And remember, if you're talking about, say, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they've got a very bad cough, then Mum will take you to a GP, right? So if they go, oh, you can have an appointment in a month's time, then potentially you'll go to A&E. Now, if you do not seek medical treatment for your child being ill or an elderly relative being ill, you can get into trouble for doing that.
Well, there's that, but I don't think that's necessarily the motivation of what spurs people to go to A&E. I think it's born out of fear. I think that people who are unwell, who don't know what's wrong with them, who think that they may well think, even with something as to many of us trivial as hiccups, if, say, for example, those hiccups are more violent than usual, they might think, oh, my goodness me, there's something seriously wrong, I need help here. And if they can't get the advice of their general practitioner, the GP, then clearly they are going to turn to only available help that there is. And to most people, that is going to A&E.
The GP service has collapsed, hasn't it?
Totally.
Oh, no, so it's not collapsed. It seems to me it's nowhere near as good as it used to be.
Well, I think that there are a number of reasons behind that. I think.
And what are they? I genuinely don't know.
Okay, so I have no proof of this, but number one, I believe there's a surge in demand, because I think there are more people than ever trying to use the NHS who absolutely, in my humble opinion, should not have access to the NHS until they have paid into the tax system for at least 5 years. That would cut it right down, because then, I'm not saying they don't have access to it, I'm saying if they have not paid into the tax system for 5 years, then they can pay to go and use our national health service that we've all had to pay an absolute fortune towards. That's just the first thing. And then the other thing I'd say is that, unfortunately, is the quality of GPs I don't think is as good as it used to be. If I see some of the GPs who I've known in my lifetime who sadly have either since left us or have retired, and I compare them to the GPs of now, genuinely, half the time I actually wonder whether or not the GPs that I go and see, and maybe I'm looking at the wrong ones, who knows, so I'm not trying to be unfair and tarnish all general practitioners, but I genuinely believe half the time that they are actually just looking up on Google as much as I am, but the difference is because they have studied medicine, they can understand what Google says.
Oh yeah, I get that. And I think, you know, there's that computer system that they've got where they put in the symptoms and whatever. I think the problem is,
I don't go to a GP for them to go and search for the symptoms. I expect them to know what the problem is.
but they don't though, do they?
No, I know, but that's a worry. That's a real problem.
I'll tell you what amazes me. A lot of these very simple things I think can be done by nurses or even, as you say, pharmacists in the community. What I think one of the big problems with the NHS is we've got all of these doctors in the community doing relatively unchallenging jobs in medical terms. Now, I know it might be challenging in terms of talking to people and in terms of interactions and the social side, but I don't think it's particularly difficult in terms of medicine. What I'd have is get rid of all the GPs, just get rid of them, and then instead have nurses doing the job. Now, bear in mind, a nurse often earns a third of what a GP does, therefore you can have 3 of them. That means that you no longer get 8 minutes, you now get 24 minutes per visit, which I think would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it works, I actually have to say that one of the things that I know that West Streeting has tried to introduce, which I don't think is completely terrible, I'm not wholly in favour of it replacing everything, but West Streeting tried to introduce the concept of virtual appointments. So
yes.
He was saying that you'd go and see, you would actually see a doctor, but over video.
Zoom
call.
or whatever.
Yeah. And now I believe that that is okay in the first instance, because what would happen then is because actually the doctor would be able to see far more patients that way.
Yes.
But actually what they could do is straight away, they could say, actually, I don't like the sound of this. I think you need to come into your
exactly.
GP. Or they'd say, do you know what? Don't panic. I know exactly what this is. This will be this. Take a couple of days, you'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? And actually they could sort of could filter.
But that could be a national scheme. You simply log on and the doctor goes, yeah, what seems to be the problem? Okay, fine. Look, what you're going to have to do, here's your prescription. Go down to the pharmacist, next person. Right, we're going to send an ambulance to you straight away.
The reason why that would be particularly good, though, is because, of course, it means that it doesn't matter where in the country the GP is. Where you look at sort of say some days, some GPs might have busier days than others, those who maybe got quieter moments could sort of see this sort of queuing system. You could also imagine it. It's a bit like, you know, there's a scandal when people were queuing for Oasis tickets, for example. They were in one massive long queue. But then if you did it in such a system that actually said that every single NHS GP has access to this system, and for as long as they don't have patients who are coming into their GP surgery to see someone, instead they see someone online, they maybe sort of take someone who's next in queue, but wherever they are in the country, it doesn't matter. Have a quick chat with them, say, oh, I'm not sure about this, maybe I think you need to go and see your GP.
I think
that would be like sort of the first line defence into second line.
I think that triaging, that idea of saying very quickly moving people around, saying, right, you are going to a pharmacist, I'm going to get you an ambulance, you are coming in, I've now booked you your appointment, it's at 2 o'clock. That sort of very quick movement would be the way forward. You're absolutely right.
I agree with that, totally.
Can I tell you, the British Medical Association trade union will never, ever, ever agree to that.
Well, they don't agree to most things that's cast as progress.
I mean, always remember when they were saying that operations were not happening in Manchester due to COVID. There's a bit they didn't tell you, that the surgery was being done using robotic arms, and they controlled them from outside the operating theatre, but they can also be controlled remotely. What they did, because they're a guild rather than a trade union, what they said was, we will not allow these surgeries to go ahead because they cannot be done they're not being done from Manchester. They could have been very easily done from London down the line, but they wouldn't allow that to happen because that would undermine their members' position.
And no one will ever persuade me that Margaret Thatcher didn't have the right idea. Abolish the unions and things get done, I'm just saying. The other thing on the front page of The Guardian, by the way, Israel apparently to ban dozens of aid agencies from Gaza. Once again, The Guardian is trouble-stirring. Israel has announced it will stop dozens of aid organisations working in Gaza within 36 hours for failing to meet stringent new requirements to hand over personal details of Palestinian international staff deployed in the territory. Now, do you know why this is, Guardian? I'm going to give you a nice little education here, is because it could be either a peace or security threat to the region. That is why they want to stop these individuals. So rather than you trying to get some pathetic leftist attempt at a headline out of it and try and make more trouble for Israel that's already got enough problems on its plate without you sticking your revolting leftist-leaning beaks in, that is the reason why. And there's always a deeper meaning to this. Stop headline grabbing, stop headline grabbing, stop trouble stirring, and just grow up and educate.
But what if I was the boss of an aid agency in Gaza and I said the following? Said, look, I understand why you want the names of these people, right? However, everybody who works for aid in Gaza is involved with Hamas in some way, shape or form. I can't...
Well, that is certainly what UNRWA has proven.
Yeah, I can't stop that. Therefore, like with journalists, the reality is if you want your journalists embedded on the ground in Gaza with outside the Israeli Defence Force, you have to get somebody who's pro-Hamas. What if I turn around to the Israelis and say, look, be realistic. My staff on the ground in Gaza are all Hamas supporters and Hamas members. There's no way I can deliver aid in Gaza without that. What would be your answer?
There is no way they could deliver aid with their help either. Because if they are on the side of Hamas, then they wouldn't want to see truly innocent people, and this is a really important point, truly innocent people in the Gaza Strip actually get aid distributed to them, because it wouldn't be in their interest and it wouldn't suit their narrative and it wouldn't suit Hamas. And actually, it wouldn't be in the least bit surprised if they're that much in cahoots with Hamas, then they could very easily be facing the threats of being killed for their actions. So actually, in some weird, twisted, inverted way, Israel's probably doing these people a favour.
Yeah, so the argument back goes, well, look, the reality is, if your organisation is dominated by Hamas, they're just stealing the aid anyway.
You're not interested in aid. You don't know humanity if you tried. If you were that entrenched with Hamas, you do not know Hamas. You don't know Hamas.
So the government has confirmed that Alaa Abdul al-Fattah will keep his British citizenship. Hooray! That is despite the fact he thinks that that white people, what is it, dogs and monkeys and Zionists should all die.
Great. Well, he wants me dead then. I'm a Zionist. Brilliant.
I'll be honest with you, he wants me dead and the feeling's mutual. No, okay. Anyway, back
No, I'm better than him. I don't want him dead.
No, look, to be honest with you, I'm perfectly happy for all these pro-terrorists to be killed in whatever rat hole they're trying to fight in. But anyway, we'll be back with the press preview just in a couple of moments.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker and Dave Phil, or Phil Dave, as he's otherwise known. I did that deliberately that time.
That's all right, Walker Andre.
Walker Andre. Well, do you know what Julia Hartley-Brewer calls me? Peter.
Well, I don't know why that is, because I think it's fairly obvious your name is not Peter. But I do have to say,
mysterious Hartley Brewer, I want to get close to you.
Brave, I wouldn't do this. So there was a games master at a school I used to go to, goodness only knows how many years ago.
A games master?
Yeah, games master. We used to have a games master. And,
I see.
And he, because I was new to this school at the time, and I hadn't quite learned everyone's names yet, and he referred to me as Dave. And I said, excuse me, sir, look, I have no problem whatsoever with you calling me Dave if you so wish to, but my name is actually Phil. Oh, he lost his rag. He said, I call everyone by their surname. He got really cross with me because, of course, I was technically chatting back to the teacher. But I just genuinely didn't realise, he didn't realise that my surname was Dave. But, of course, he was calling everyone by their surname. But anyway.
Well, what a fascinating story. I mean, you must wheel that out on your forthcoming stand-up comedy tour.
I wasn't trying to be funny. I was just stating that, unfortunately... No, I don't
when Phil Dave was at school...
Am I trying to make out that the fact that my surname has always been a curse?
Is it a curse?
Yeah, I got a first name as a surname.
What was the name originally? You've told me before.
I think in Russia it was something like Devushnik. In South Africa it was...
Devushnik?
Devushnik.
I'd go back to Devushnik. I think that's quite nice.
I can't spell it.
No, that's a reasonable point.
And then when my ancestors moved from Russia or Belarus to South Africa, they tried to change it to Devatsky, but then the South African immigration misspelt it. My family couldn't be bothered to learn a new spelling, and they shortened it to Dave, and that's where it came from.
Devushnik.
Devushnik.
I think Phil Devushnik's a great name. You're listening to Phil Devushnik. I think that's great.
That sounds like a sausage.
Well, and that's the only thing you don't eat, isn't it?
No, it's not the only thing.
I love that. I love that when they went, so we need to send sausages to Gaza, and you think that's the only thing they agree on. Were you being rude then? I was not being rude.
I digress anyway.
I was not being rude. I was not being rude. Sausages is the only thing that the Palestinians and Israelis agree they don't want. Anyway, okay, let's go to the next front page. Oh, by the way, just to say to you that tomorrow night, or tonight, if you're listening in the morning, we've got the New Year's Eve phone-in with me and Danielle Nichols. The number is
Danielle's
always...
back. How exciting.
She is. 03444991000 is the number to call now and indeed then. And we're going to do 3 hours of calls from 10 o'clock. So just do us a favour.
Can you please get Danielle to collect her post? She's got so many letters sent to her.
It's all off one person, hope at the moment.
I don't care who it is. She's had a lot of letters sent into her. You need to make sure she gets them.
I never get... Do you know the only letter I've ever received? Right. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking. The letter said, Dear Andre, I hear that you're a Freemason. Can you contact Patrick Christie's and ask him to join as well? Because he is brilliant. And then it continued a whole page about how good Patrick Christie's was. And it said, thank you very much, goodbye. It was, who gets fan mail in which they say, can you tell somebody else they're great?
And from another station.
From another station.
Outrageous behaviour.
Unbelievable.
Well, to be fair, he was formerly of this parish.
He was. OK. Let's go for the Daily Telegraph. What have you seen on the front page of the Telegraph, Phil?
Labour will wreck special forces, apparently. So former SAS commanders warn government against changes to combat immunity rules. So I'm going to try and read this very blurred line here. It says the government something is destroying Britain. I can't read that. I'm very sorry, it's blurred. But basically, you can sort of see that apparently that there are certain members who are quite high up of the armed forces who are desperately concerned by Labour's attitude towards the military and special forces.
This is because they want them all to be able to be sued for everything that they ever do. Now, obviously, special forces kill people, right? That's what they do for a living. You can't have a go.
They don't do it for fun. There is a very valid reason.
I think that's part of the issue. They do quite enjoy it.
Well, no, there are some who think they do, but one would assume that based on that their fundamentals is that they have to protect this country. I would say that if they believe it's in the country's safety to, let's sort of say, eliminate someone, well, then we have to stand by them because they're not doing it for fun.
So I asked a friend of mine who used to be in the SAS whether the SAS were terrorists. And what he said is, look, first of all, when the SAS was established, lots of people thought it was a terrorist organisation. And he said, look, our methods are terrorist-like. He said, however, this is he said, I do not believe that you can be a terrorist by definition if you are commanded by a democratic government with proper democratic oversight, acting in the national interest. I thought that's a reasonable point, actually. I think that's fair enough.
I'd say I don't actually see any problem with that definition. I think that's actually quite a good one. In fact, actually, if everyone used that as a barometer, that would help clear up an awful lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely, because what you're saying is, you're saying, look, OK, these people will go in and do things like extrajudicial killing, but they are doing it for the purpose of defending freedom and democracy around the world. I think that makes it a completely different thing. But of course, what Keir Starmer would say is that those terrorists that have been killed in, say, Afghanistan should have the right to sue the individual soldiers concerned. And that is, of course, an absolute nightmare.
It's also nonsense, let's be honest. Also on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, strip activist of citizenship now, Starmer told. This, of course, is Al Fatah, who we were just referring to now. This is the one that all of those delightful virtue-signalling moronic celebrities were crying out for, the return from an Egyptian prison. He was welcomed back Friday evening by our very own Prime Minister. This is the bloke who, just for the record, has openly praised or encouraged his followers to kill the police, has said revoltingly racist things against white people, has been openly encouraging people to kill Zionists. Well, I'm a Zionist, so he wants me dead, and amongst others. And he's also said some pretty revolting things, including that he openly supported Osama bin Laden. And I just can't understand why our Prime Minister is welcoming that kind of person back into the country. Least of all, he should actually be fighting for British people and saying, do you know what, this is not the kind of person we want living in the UK, and therefore, actually, I'm going to strip you of your citizenship.
But look, this bloke is a massive racist. There's no doubt about it, and an Islamic fundamentalist, and a terrorist. There's no doubt with all those things. But ultimately, look, I'm feeling a bit downbeat at the moment, but that is the direction of travel of this country. The reality is...
not the majority.
No, I understand that, but look, I believe that anti-Semitism is a price that Britain is willing to pay in favour of having uncontrolled immigration. That is the reality. We love it. This man is talking to the base. When this man makes speeches in Trafalgar Square about his hatred of white people and Zionists and all this, he's going to draw a big crowd.
Well, you say that, but the largest so-called pro-Palestinian lot that was ever pulled in central London was 350,000. And when you think of London being a population of 9 million people, I don't think that's a very big crowd.
That's a reasonable point. It's a reasonable point. OK, so Putin has no interest in peace deal, says Moldovan Prime Minister.
Oh,
now,
great.
given that nobody has ever
Where is Moldova? Does anyone know?
given that nobody has ever... I had an Eastern European expert on. We've got a backstory here. I had an Eastern European expert on once, and I was talking to him about the Moldovan long coup d'etat, and he said to me, Andre, you just have more knowledge on this subject than me. So little Moldova. Moldova is a funny place. It is half Russian, it's half Romanian, and it's basically on the Romanian-Ukrainian border. It's near Odessa, for those of you that know. It's kind of on the...
It's a part of Eurovision, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So it's a former Soviet republic. However, what is interesting about Moldova, what's really interesting about Moldova, is if what you wanted to do
was...
Is
their flag black, light blue and white, if my memory serves me right?
Maybe.
I can't remember how it was.
What's interesting about Moldova is that Putin had wanted to take Ukraine, then he wanted to take Moldova.
Oh, no, it's not.
And then he'd wanted to link up with Belarus to create that big buffer zone. And so that was part of his invasion plan. The Moldovan long coup d'etat is basically this. When Putin was attempting to infiltrate Moldova to destroy the election, the Moldovans actually beat him and threw all of his activists out. So the Moldovans, when they say that Putin is not interested in a peace deal, that should be something of great concern to us. Although I do agree with this idea by Volodymyr Zelensky of having a demilitarised zone. I'll tell you why. Because A, he doesn't have enough European soldiers to be peacekeepers along the whole border with the new Russian border, if you like. Secondly, putting British, French, German, whatever soldiers face to face with the Russians is a bad idea. And thirdly, his Bayraktar drone missile system is such that if the Russians attempted to stream across the border again, then then he could missile strike them like he did last time and stop their tanks in their tracks. So actually that demilitarised zone is probably not a bad idea.
Moldova knows best.
Phil Dave has got no idea. If
idea.
Anyone who doesn't know about the Moldovan long coup d'etat is not welcome in this studio. I think what we'll do is, Phil, we will go
home early if you want. I could do with the sleep. So
What's that?
I said I can go home early if you want. I can do with the sleep. So.
Yeah, are you very tired at the moment, Phil?
I'm Shasta. I've been here since 9 a.m.
Oh, that's not acceptable.
Oh, no,
I'll tell you what we need to do then. Why don't you all try and give me a call, 03444991000, and if enough of you call, I'll let Phil go home.
Hurrah.
Otherwise, I won't.
If not,
also,
stay here.
If you're listening in the morning, it's Ian Collins doing the breakfast this morning. More next.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker and Phil Davadovich, or whatever his name was. What's your name again?
Devoshnik.
Devoshnik. Phil
I
Devoshnik.
told you that's why I'm not going to do it. I know we're going to get people can't even get Dave right.
I remember. Listen. Lest we forget that I got Myron Sentinel Nathan in the end, right? And that's harder than Devoshnik.
Yeah, maybe. Although I still say actually one of the first news bulletins I ever had to read in my life was for the Lockerbie bomber. And do you remember what the Lockerbie bomber's name was?
The Lockerbie bomber was Al-Megrahi.
So, Abdul Basit Ali Muhammad Al-Megrahi was his full name.
Yeah, that's right.
I had to learn that for a news bulletin I was reading once. And I thought, do you know what? If I can do that, why the heck can't people say Phil Dave?
Yeah,
it's really annoying.
What was some of the? I was saying last night, the one that always made me laugh was that President Bush banned mention of Bongo from the Congo on the grounds that President Omar Bongo President Omar Bongo was genuinely known as Bongo from the Congo, but the reason why he was known as Bongo from the Congo was because he was ethnically from the Congo. His parents were from the Congo, but he was the president of Gabon, right? And President Bush said, I'm really worried if I keep getting Bongo from the Congo in my head, I'm going to stand up at this state visit and start talking about Congo.
Well, was that George Bush or George W. Bush?
George W.
Oh, right. Oh,
George Bush Senior would have been fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't sound like the kind of person who would
Should we look at the front page of the Times where that fat W... David Lammy is there saying that he wanted to free Al Fatah. Look at him. What was it about David? What was it about David Lammy that he liked Al Fatah so much? Right. No, come on. It's true though, isn't it?
Well, I mean, just
can I tell you my issue with David Lammy
he's
is...
holding a picture that's got a photo, and underneath in the logo is the logo of Amnesty International. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what does.
I've got a brilliant story from years ago. I had a mate of mine, his name's Posh Peter, right? And he was at Lancaster University.
Was he a bit core blimey?
No, he was, yeah, well, indeed. So he was walking through the centre of the campus at Lancaster University. It must have been about 1998 or something. And he bumped into Amnesty International and they said, hello, we're Amnesty International. Would you like to send a postcard to a political prisoner? And he said, oh, yes, I'd like to very much. Can I choose the political prisoner? And they went, yes. So he went through the book meticulously, the big, thick book of names and addresses. And he gets to the end of it and he stops and he goes back again. And they went, sorry, and when he went through twice, he went, sorry, is there a problem? And he went, where's General Pinochet? And you what? And he went,
I can't imagine that whoever he was talking to must have had heart failure when he said that.
Where's General Pinochet? And at the time, General Pinochet was under house arrest at the Wentworth Golf Estate in Ascot.
So you know that the one time when I've been approached by individuals who are rather, I know that sort of rather, some people get a bit upset when they're referred to as chuggers, which of course is charity muggers.
Charity muggers.
But it was, one way or another, a charity mugger who approached me on Regent Street one time, who happened to be from Amnesty, and I know that no one from Amnesty is here to answer for themselves, so I promise you I'll tread carefully with this. But they approached me and they said, would you be interested in making a monthly donation to our cause? And I looked at them and I said, not until your organisation changes its disgusting stance on Israel and the Middle East, no. And
that's reasonable.
And this individual looked at me with abject horror, as if, what on earth are you talking about? Like, we're not bad about Israel. Israel, the evil ones, don't use this. And anyway, I just walked off. I didn't wait around long enough. But it was just amusing as heck that sort of you got these individuals. I genuinely believe that half the time, actually, chuggers don't even know what the cause they're fighting for.
Well, I think the other problem is
they do it as a job.
You highlight a big thing, and actually the front page of the Times, I think, is a reasonable point. Whatever you say about David Lammy, and you know what I've said about him on many occasions, I always think, if I would believe he was a Chinese spy if he wasn't a moron. So his behaviour is such that I would believe he was genuinely trying to undermine the country.
I have two names for you: Marie Antoinette, Marie Curie.
Yeah, absolutely. Who succeeded Henry VIII, Henry VII? Hey, I can do it all day. But what this does show on the front page of the Times, which I think is a reasonable point, is this increasing problem. Well, maybe it's not increasing, but it seems to me to be increasing, of people who are following causes they fundamentally do not understand. So I'll make the point, because I know we talk about Israel a lot and people moan about it, but it's the ubiquitous topic that everyone knows about. And, you know, if we start talking about the example of Nagorno-Karabakh or Moldova, people start to struggle. Right, so...
And actually, I have to say, Nagorno-Karabakh is actually a truly fascinating story, because actually therein lies genuine genocide and people yet don't know about it.
Yeah, but so here is the issue. If you want to come onto the TV, and I had a very good Jewish friend who wanted to do this, to say Israel's got it totally wrong, they shouldn't have invaded, they're being deliberately goaded, this is stupid. I said, do not do that, because if you appear with a skull cap disagreeing, you'll be everywhere, you'll be a social media star. It's a war you've got to all pull together. But fundamentally, if you want to slag off the IDF, slag them off. If you want to slag off the Israeli government, slag them off. If you want to slag off Netanyahu, slag them off. But I believe it's a prerequisite that, first of all, you have to recognise that the fundamental problem here is there's a terrorist government in Gaza. Now,
yes.
if you are willing to say, and I know people do, look, the government in Gaza is awful, right? And they course October the 7th in order to prevent peace in the Middle East, right? However, I disagree with Benjamin Netanyahu's response to it. Then we can have a sensible discussion. But what actually happens is you go around the streets and you see all these people going, Israel bad, Palestine great, and you go, but Hamas, right? Oh no, they're
they're
great.
Crying out for a country that hasn't existed for 80 years, for starters. I mean, that is in itself a bit of a problem.
Yes.
Exactly the same way that I don't recall the last time someone said Iran, Persia, or Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. Do you know? I mean,
well, some of my mates call it Rhodesia.
Well, to be perfectly honest here, I will never refer to Iran as Iran. To me, it will always be Persia. I think that the Persians are the ones who are oppressed.
I'll tell you what. But on that subject though, Phil, this thing where people jump on causes they don't fundamentally understand and push them and start shouting at people. I mean, you get it all the time. I mean, I had a mate who went into an Irish bar in New York, and he said, oh, my name's Paddy, and they went, oh, what, are you Irish? And he went, no, I'm English. And he went, we don't like English people here. And he said, but all you know about Northern Ireland is that your cat was, had a green collar. That's the sum total of your knowledge. So why are you talking? You know what I mean?
Totally and utterly. There's one other, by the way, story on the front page of the Times, which I would love to sink my teeth into just before we run out of time.
Well, that sounded pervy.
Yeah, well, you read it how you want to. Ministers sit on legally sound trans guidance. So apparently the government is facing renewed pressure to publish delayed guidance on single-sex spaces after the new chair of the Equalities Watchdog insisted the document was legally sound. I completely and utterly think that this sums up right here exactly what some of the fundamental problems of our country are. Because if we struggle nowadays to comprehend basic biology, it's not really a wonder we're in such a mess, is because that there is no doubt in so many of our minds. I believe the trans community, the last time I checked, was something like 0.0025% of the country, something like that. So, please don't quote me, it's not the exact figure, but I know it's a really, really small amount of the population. For as long as we keep pandering to the minorities, and we do pander to minorities, you'd be forgiven for thinking that fundamental Islam is quite the majority of this country.
But that's a reasonable point.
Even for as long as you actually consider that actually the total number of Muslims, according to the 2021 census in this country, is 4 million. So let's say, for argument's sake, now realistically it's probably nearer 5 million or 5.5 million, just for argument's sake. Even if it's 5.5 million, we're a country of 69 million people. They are still the minority, even if every single Muslim, which they're not, by the way, even if every single Muslim was a fundamentalist, they are not. I'll say that again, just in case you misunderstood. So the fundamentalists are even smaller minority, and yet we pander to them. We have MPs who have been elected based on fundamentalist views. If we just had a backbone and said the majority of people don't think like this, if you don't like it, don't live here, the country would be totally different. And this is a classic example of it. Yeah, absolutely right. By the way, just to be clear, there are 6 million Muslims in the UK. It's only 20 to 30% that supported the World Trade Center attack. Big number. Okay, so let's just go. Do you know what? The legally sound trans guidance. Let's just be clear on something. We're all going to ignore the law, aren't we? On trans. I just don't think
the law says women are women.
I just don't even think there should be a law on it. It's basic biology. You can't say that the law trumps biology. It's just as simple as that. Okay,
so here we go. I'm not going to bother with the Daily Mirror simply because it's about Anthony Joshua. Very sorry about the car crash, but I think we are there. Okay, let's go to the Daily Mail. Labour facing ruin. Police facing ruin from Labour's soft justice crime wave. They are trying to jail fewer criminals, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. But, Phil, you're not going to have time, really, to comment on that because your time with me has come to an end.
Oh.
Will you miss me?
Sorry, who are you? Yeah, no, of course I will. Of course, it's been a treat. Primarily for you. But primarily for you.
Phil Dvoshnik.
It's been a treat, yeah, absolutely.
So that was Phil Dvoshnik. I think Phil Dvoshnik's good. Phil Dvoshnik. Dvoshnik.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I should go for using my Russian surname now, not the Hebrew name, for the first time in forever.
Yeah, but yours is called Porsche the Bint or something, isn't it? Anyway, Ian Collins is coming up. If you're listening in the morning, he's up right now. And if you're listening on Tuesday night, then, sorry, I'm working different.
Where are we? What day is
days
it?
this week. I'm working different days this week. If you're listening on Tuesday night, we've still got a couple more minutes, a couple of more seconds. 0344 499 1000. Phil, Dave, what's your prediction for this year? If you've got 20 seconds.
The pendulum will start to swing back the other way if it hasn't already. And actually, I do think that the country will rise up and say, do you know what? Enough is enough. We're sick of this.
Well, we can only hope, because I have to say...
Not violently, though, please.
Oh, no. But I think this country has got real problems, and it's time to try and resolve those problems. Phil Dvoshnik will be with you. When are you next with us, Phil?
New Year's Day, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Presenting?
Yes.
Hey! OK, I'm going to be back with your calls just in a couple of moments. 0344 499 1000. Please get the calls in. I've got 3 slots available.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the Channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker. Phil Dvoshnik has now left the studio. I love that name now. I've actually got the Russian spelling for it and everything. OK, well, I think what we're going to do is just say to you that there are 2 slots available, 0344 499 1000. So if you call now, you will get through to our producer. Also, what I want to say to you is please, and I'm a little bit desperate here, give us a call tomorrow night. Kind of 9:45 would be really helpful, simply because we've got me and Danielle doing a New Year's Eve show. It is just the 2 of us for 3 hours. Haven't done it in ages, and there's not a lot of other stuff on the channel on the day. A lot of it's pre-recorded. Therefore, I'm just a little bit nervous. So we're going to put our phone-in guy sitting here from maybe about 9:30 tomorrow night. 0344 499 1000. Should we go with Georgina in London? Georgina, how are you, Toch?
I'm fine, darling. How are you?
Calm down.
Well, listen, I'm ringing. I'm pretty... Well, I'm not happy. I was going to say something else then, but I'm not happy that this Al Fatah chap has been welcomed back into our country. A man that...
When you say back... welcomed into this country, he was given British citizenship in 2019. He's never had it before. He was given it when he was in prison.
Yeah, I know he. Well, that's what I've heard anyway. But he's here, and apparently they want that Begum woman back here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
They're desperate to get Shamima back. Desperate.
well, listen, has Britain become a safe haven for terrorists?
Yes.
Because it seems that all these undesirables from all over the world seem to have bed and lodgings here, and we're supposed to sit back and watch this happen with people who only want to do us harm. Andre, I don't know what is going on, and I'm really, really worried about this.
Okay, in the book Londonistan, what they basically say is there's been a long agreement between the British government and the world of Islamic fundamentalists that you are allowed to live in Britain as long as you don't attack Britain. And London has long been a safe haven. And you know what? We talk about being soft on terrorism. The Algerian terrorists that attacked France for years received safe haven in Britain. We should be apologising to the French for that. But of course, the world has changed now, because now it's not one or two extremists. It's now the Muslim Brotherhood running its worldwide operation from London. The United Arab Emirates is saying that they are thinking of putting visa requirements on UK nationals because they're concerned about the number of Islamic fundamentalists in Britain.
Well, this is terrifying. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen it. You probably have, because you don't miss a trick. But there was an MP who is a Muslim who was talking about the Islamification of the whole of this country. And I watched it agog. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it's all over X, this. So I was like, for God's sake, you know.
I think the problem is, so I will say one thing in defence of thoughtful and well-meaning Muslim people. What they believe is that believing the Quran and Muhammad is the completion of, if you like, the Christian journey. So you start off Jewish, then you become Christian, then you become Muslim. And to be fair, they want people to listen to their faith, and they want to convert people. You have to accept if you're in Saudi Arabia that it's a Muslim country, and you have to accept that if you're in the United Kingdom, it's a Christian country. And if you are not happy with that, if you're not happy with shutting your mouth, even if it's well-meaning, then I'm afraid you really have to leave.
Well, the thing is, if we were in Saudi Arabia, Andre, and we were spouting off and trying to convert the Muslims in Saudi Arabia, I don't think it would go down very well.
No, it's a very serious criminal offence. Very serious criminal offence.
So why are these people allowed to come to Britain and then start stopping people in the street, which is what they do, and they're going actually house to house now trying to convert people in Birmingham? This is like absolutely abhorrent. Well, we are supposed to sit there. This freedom of speech thing, we're not even allowed to say anything about it because it's Islamophobia. But this guy, this Al Fatah, has been spouting horrendous rhetoric.
I wonder if I said that that Muslims were what did he say about white people were dogs and pigs or whatever?
Don't even say that on the programme, because honestly, you will get vilified for even saying that. Honestly, it isn't worth the hassle. But it's so two-tier. It is disgraceful. And the fact that the Prime Minister is supposed to be there to protect the population of Britain and protect our country, and he is doing anything but. And honestly, I couldn't be more disgusted if the man came up to me and spat in my face. It's disgraceful, and I'm ashamed of him. And I hope his mother's ashamed of him.
How worried are you?
Well.
Because I know that a lot of British people now are thinking in terms of what would happen if Britain collapsed.
Well, do you know what? I'm worried, and I'll tell you for why. I know my kids are grown up, but I've got a daughter and I've got 4 sons. And I don't want my daughter being, them poor little girls who were burnt because they wouldn't convert to the Muslim faith. And this is what happened to them. This is a while ago. If we're not going to convert, what are they going to do to us, Andre?
Well, under the Quran, if Britain became a Sharia country, and we're a long way away from that, what would happen is those Christians that choose not to convert would pay a higher rate of tax in order to fund Islam.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I'm not prepared to do that, and I'm not surprised.
Well, look at the British police. The British police will come after you if you attempt to stand up for yourself.
Well, I'm
More on that
convinced
later.
now. I'm convinced now that we are actually living in a police state because we're watched 24/7. We've got all these cameras around us. We've got the government telling us that we can't say what we think. And I was under the impression that I certainly know my granddad died in the war. Do you know what I mean? Fighting for this country. And all the things that he died for, we no longer have. We don't have freedom of speech. We don't have freedom of movement. My God, we don't even have a democratic society anymore. It's just...
And remember, I said this, the chairman of the Labour Party the other day, somebody facetiously asked, you've abolished local elections. Are you going to abolish the general election? And the chairman of the Labour Party refused to rule that out.
Well, abolish the elections. You know, that's exactly what they've done. We're not allowed elections anymore. Some parts of this country haven't been able to have an election. Now, I'm sorry, when you're not allowed to have elections, Andre, that for me, that's a communist country.
Yes.
I'm sorry, because only communism, says that you can't have an election, you can't pick your leader. Well, I never voted for Keir Starmer, and honestly, you could put me on the rack and I wouldn't vote Labour. Not a chance. And they only got into power out of default because there was no one else to vote for. My God, if there'd have been a horse in a hoop skirt in opposition, I'd have voted for
I'd have
them,
voted
let
for a
me
horse
tell
in a
you.
hoop skirt anyway.
It's just really terrifying. And I sit here and I listen to what's going on in this country, and I think, my God, is this real, or am I having a horrendous nightmare?
Well, I think what's happening is our country is changing very rapidly. I mean, what is it? 1 in 20 people that you meet in the streets came to the country in the past 4 years, which is a remarkable thought, really. And you go, oh, well, it's only 5%. You think, yeah, but it's 5% every 4 years. And then when you think, what was that statistic? That the number of people that are leaving the country, and you think, so it takes, I think it was something like 3 years for one person in your class at school to leave. But then, of course, if you multiply that out over a period of time, the whole class will have I mean, I think the problem is we've now got British people, lots of British people who say, what will be the homeland for the British when Britain is overrun? Now, is Britain being overrun? No, probably not. But as I always say, if there's a set of stairs from 0 to 100, a 0 being not being overrun and 100 being completely overrun, you know, we're not at step 0. We're not at step 100 either, but we're not at step 0.
Yeah, but it's steadily increasing. And the thing that frightens me is the people who are leaving Britain are the people who have money. The people who, you know, they contribute mostly for tax. And we're being left with a lot of people who don't pay a lot of tax.
Yes.
And they're going to have to pay more tax to compensate for the people who have left, who pay an astronomical amount of tax. This is only going to end one way, Andre, and that's badly. The economy of this country is going to totally...
It's amazing. It's amazing, though, at the beginning of this show, and for those of you who didn't watch it, you can watch it on repeat later. Charlie Mullins comes on. He's paid £100 million in personal tax. Forget company, personal tax. And he's saying he loves London, but he feels he has to get away because it's gone so bad. So, I mean, that's remarkable.
It has gone so bad. And people who have worked the backsides off to make... I mean, that used
If you work hard in this country, you're an idiot. That's the problem.
You are now, because
You are now.
you've got people coming over here, being given a home, being given a mode of transportation, being given... I mean, some of these people who are coming over here are having private health care, Andre, while our own people are suffering, waiting for operations, serious operations, and they can't get into a hospital.
Well, like I said, where I live, a family got thrown, British family got thrown out, and a tax inspector from Lahore was given the property by the housing association, and she's going to use it as a holiday home.
Well, do you know what? This makes me physically sick. It's like I was in Manchester not so long ago, and there were those pop-up tents all down a street, pop-up tents. Right over the road was a hotel that was full of migrants. We have British people sleeping in pop-up tents in the freezing cold. We've got a lot of veterans on the streets, and we are housing migrants in warm hotels.
I mean, as Aunt Middleton said, the amazing thing is we're moving them from hotels to army barracks. So now everywhere in the country, the British military has been disbanded, and instead military-aged men from the Islamic world have now taken over these army barracks. Now,
yeah, well,
he suggests...
What's that telling you? You're talking about men from the Middle East who are coming over here, fighting-age men, being given 3 meals a day, being kept warm, being looked after. You know, they've got the recreation, they've got the warm beds. Their bellies are full. An army fights on its belly, Andre, and our boys are sleeping on the street. Now, if that isn't a wake-up call to the whole of this country that something is radically wrong, then nothing is going to
if you look at the Member of Parliament in Birmingham, I forget his name, when he effectively called up the irregulars and said, let's stop at Maccabi Tel Aviv coming to Villa Park, I'll tell you, the police panicked and pretended that there was a security reason for them not coming. They know that's the reason why, when there's these big Palestinian protests, the reason why the police don't arrest anti-Semites or racists or terrorists is because they know they would be defeated. And the defeat of the Metropolitan Police on the streets to radical Islamists is so unthinkable that they pretend they're not having an argument with them.
Well, let me tell you, this has gone beyond the pale now, and people are going to have to take this very seriously. The government isn't listening to us. They are working. They're working for the enemy. They're not working for the British people.
Yeah, well, we've got. I'll tell you, Vladimir Putin. They're all talking about Vladimir Putin wanting to fight the British. Listen, Uncle Vlad, get rid of your navy. All you have to do is send your military in small dinghies across to Dover. Either the Navy will help you, the RNLI will help you, or we will say we can't possibly stop small boats. Anyway, I'm going to go to a break. Georgina, more next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, it's the Late Show with Andre Walker, and let's go straight to calls, although the number is 03444991000. Let's go to Kevin in Basingstoke. Kevin, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Good. Yeah, Charlie Mullins.
Yes.
I mean, I was annoyed with him when he was putting London down. London's an amazing place. I've worked there for 20 years. I've gone out in London for the last 15 years at the weekends. It's great. It's not unsafe. I've got a lot of female friends. They travel around on the underground.
Yeah, but you're part of the white flight, aren't you? You left the capital.
Well, I've never lived there.
Okay.
I just work there and go out there. I've got a lot of friends there because I work there. You've got a lot of
but when knife crimes increased by 15% and Sadiq Khan says it's falling, I mean, does that not give you the heebie-jeebies?
Well, no, I mean, actual homicides is down, and actual people that have been stabbed and gone to A&E have gone down. The only thing that's gone up is the police are catching more people with knives, but they're not using them, so that's still a knife crime. And I mean, London, on Ipsos, London was voted the best city in the world for 15 years in a row.
Who voted?
Other opinion polls have put...
Al Fatah.
Pardon?
The person who voted was Alaa Abdul Al Fatah.
Well, I don't matter who voted for it, but...
Well, it does.
Well, but I mean, the first caller, I mean, I disagreed with everything she said.
But honestly, look, you're a fair-minded geezer, right? You're not phoning up because you're a liar, right? We all know that. When you come to London now and you see people forcing their way through the barriers, rather than paying for the tickets, when you see people, the increase in begging, when you see the increase in homelessness, when you see the increase in shoplifting, I mean, now I go into shops all the time and people are openly shoplifting. Do you look at that and go, well, that's what's always happened, nothing's changed?
Well, the thing is, they say that phone theft has gone up. It's something like 600,000 phones. I don't know if it's London, but probably the UK is stolen every year. But when we had car radios, people used to smash car windscreens and grab radios. That was about 600,000. These are opportunists. They just move on to the easy option.
So in that case, let me put this central theory to you. There is a belief that uncontrolled immigration has led to a large number of people in London who are fundamentally criminal, who fundamentally are here to exploit the place, who are fundamentally... I mean, you can't get away from the fact that there are definitely Roma gangs from Romania that have made a fortune from pickpocketing. It's just a fact. You can't get away from the fact that the mobile phone capital of the world is London, and you can't get away from the fact that the grooming gangs which exist right across the UK, Sadiq Khan vehemently denies the existence of in London and has deliberately not taken any action on it.
Well, there's always been pockets of certain people that do crimes in London, hasn't there? But if you look at statistics, violent crime in London has actually gone down. Most crimes in the whole country are on the way down.
What about the simple unfairness of the de facto ethnic cleansing, which is this? There's no Cockneys in the East End anymore. When I think of the East End now, I think of Bengalis. Rather than... Now, you're going to say, well, there are always people in the East End who are ethnic minorities, but now the East End is almost exclusively, from what I can see, people who've come to the country more recently. Also, the majority of social housing goes to people who weren't born in London, weren't born in the UK. Do you not see a fundamental unfairness to that?
Well, I don't know if that statistic is true. I mean, people. Well,
the majority. Look. If you are a white person in London, white British person, you are an ethnic minority now. Now, clearly, that wasn't true in 1945.
Well, I mean, that doesn't bother me. I don't care where people were born. I just care about if they're decent people or not.
Okay. Well, that is the answer Keir Starmer would give. So I'm not going to criticise you for that. So it doesn't bother you that London is no longer by majority British?
No, I mean, why does that matter? I mean, look at America. It's the best country, the most prosperous country in the world, and they've taken immigrants from everywhere.
Yeah, the argument goes, and I appreciate you're not going to agree with it. The argument goes, there's a fundamental difference between an invasion and the sort of American melting pot. The idea is that there are some core values of America that bring everybody together and create an American nation. Whereas in Britain, what is happening is the culture and history of the British is simply being superseded by new people moving in. I'll give you another example, which I often give. Modern-day Romanians are more closely related to the Romans than modern-day people who live in Rome. And that's because what is left of the Romans have really been kicked out of Rome, and now there is one enclave effectively in Romania. And so what would happen with London, I assume, is that in, say, 1,000 years' time, there will be effectively no British people in London. It will still continue to be a great city, but it will have been handed effectively to a new population.
Yeah, but Romanians are really nice people. I mean...
yeah, but they've been kicked... Yeah, the point is, they've been kicked out of the city they founded.
So you haven't got a problem with Romanians in the country then?
No. No. I'm talking about simple fact. Modern-day Romanians are more closely related to Romans than modern-day people from Rome are. And the point I'm making is that if you live in modern-day Rome, you are really probably not very closely related to people like Julius Caesar. What has happened is when the Roman Empire fell, the city was taken over by people who were not Romans, and now what is left of the Roman population lives elsewhere. It lives in Romania. And my point being that in 1,000 years' time, the City of London will not be British in any meaningful way. It will not speak English. It will not have anyone related to the people that built the city living there in the same way as Rome does not have any Romans living there.
Well, no, I don't think that's true. I mean, most people in the UK speak English, don't they?
With respect, Kevin, at this rate of decline, I mean, we assume this rate of decline will not continue. But if you look between 1945 and 1925, the British population of London has fallen from 99.999% to 38%.
Yeah, but why? I don't see the problem. You're throwing all these numbers at me, but it doesn't matter. If it's a great place to live and a great place to work, and people come, tourism in the UK and London is one of the best cities in the world. People love coming to London. I mean, London is just getting better and better.
But what about those people who are going to say, this is the birthright of, this is my birthright. It is not the birthright of somebody from Lahore. Why should they be allowed to have it?
Well, I mean, we don't have to let these people in. We give them work visas. We want them to come here. I mean, the number of people...
What is the value? Without being funny, what is the value? So, what is it? 80% of Somalian men who come to the UK never, ever, ever get a job. What is the key value of learning from the culture of Mogadishu?
Well, I mean...
Look, Kevin, if you and I went to Mogadishu now, what would be the main bits that you would be hoping to learn from? I mean, crime, poverty and ignorance.
Most people go to a different country to improve their lives. I mean, your previous caller said about people leaving this country, and she was talking about millionaires. It's not the millionaires that are leaving.
But okay, Kevin. But let's be honest. Let's be honest about what actually happens. We bring people here from another country, and they go, "We want to come to Britain in order to make our lives better." But then they go, "We miss it back home." So what they actually do is create an enclave of their own community. So as an example, they might all live in a particular area. They might maintain their language. They might maintain their dress code. Build their own infrastructure, things like building mosques and indeed community centres or whatever it is that you want to do, shops that sell Polish food or whatever. Increasingly, if you say, as I say, Mogadishu is a dump, horrendous dump that nobody would ever want to visit, it is true that people who come from Mogadishu get a better life in London than they would have in Mogadishu. But what they give to London in exchange is a taste of Mogadishu, which makes London worse. That's the point.
The people from Mogadishu would only be able to come here if they could get a work visa.
No, they wouldn't. No, they can falsely claim to be refugees.
Well, if
And
they
they do.
falsely claim to be refugees, we'd find out they were falsely claiming.
Well, look, we all know 87% of applications for asylum in the UK get approved. That means if you arrive and claim asylum in the UK, you will get refugee status. 9 out of 10 people are approved. It's not very difficult. You can do the chicken nuggets. You can say you need to hang around in order to molest your kids. You can say all those things.
The chicken nugget story, that is another story that was totally...
Well, it's not. It's about a man saying my child has got Asperger's and therefore you should grant me political asylum to the United Kingdom as a refugee fleeing a war, when actually what I'm fleeing is the poor quality of treatment of Asperger's people in Albania. That's what it actually was.
Well, no, his child has special needs.
Asperger's.
He had to have routine in his life.
Yes, correct.
And if they removed his dad...
Correct. But the man was claiming to be fleeing a war. He was claiming to be fleeing a war from Albania. And he's saying... The court approved. The court agreed that the refugee rules designed for people fleeing the gas chambers of Poland should be applied to a man who says, I'm fleeing a country where there is no war at all, but now I'm in Britain, my son has special needs and doesn't like the upheaval of having to move back to Albania. That was what the case was, and it stinks.
Well, not really. He hasn't got permanent status here.
Yes, he has.
But only till his child gets a bit older.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. They're never going back. I mean, the case of the man who molested his children, who said he needs to stay in the UK in order to remain close to his children. What, to molest them? Approved. The reality is that we're going to let all these people in. If I come... Look, and also when we talk about cultural enrichment, remember... The culture in place like Rwanda is a knife crime and machete culture. There is a reason why we have an increase in knife crime. There's a reason why we've got an increase in machete use. It's cultural enrichment. We're being enriched with mutti magic. We're being enriched with Islamic fundamentalism. We're being enriched with knife crime culture. We're being enriched with abuse of women's rights. We're being enriched with all these things. It's cultural enrichment.
Can I say, I know I've been on quite a while. Can I say one other thing about...
Yeah, you can.
She said something about she's worried about elections. Only local elections, only about 30% of people even bother to vote. And most of those local elections are going ahead. It's only the ones that are going through devolution. And they can have an election if they want to, but an election costs about £130,000. They'd have to pay out £130,000.
No, that's not the argument. What's happened is, instead of having shadow elections for the new authorities, they've decided not to have the elections because they know Reform would win. That's the reality.
Well, no, because all the others are going ahead. It's only those, and they can have the...
Yeah, but they're the most important elections of them all, because they're electing the people who would decide the constitutional arrangements going forward after the new devolution settlement. They're the most important elections of them all. But as was said in Essex by the Conservative group, we do not want... we think it's important that this is negotiated by us, because if we do have an election, we're all going to lose and new people will have to negotiate it. I mean, that's just balmy.
You don't know that Reform are going to win. I mean...
Reform will win Essex.
Yeah, but they're not going to win all of them. I mean, Essex can have the election if they want. I mean...
No. It's important... Sorry, Kevin, I'm going to cut you off there. It's important to understand Essex cannot have the election. If the government and Essex County Council agree there will be no election, there will be no election. If the people of Essex want an election, they can't have it. More next.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This is The Late Show with Andre Walker. And let's go to our... No, before we go to our voice messages, let's just remind you, because I know why nobody's sending in voice messages. What you do is you go to your phone, you put in 0344 499 1000, and then you add talk, right? And then what should happen then is, I don't know if you can see this, you go to WhatsApp, put in talk, which will come up, talkTV, there we go. And then if I send a voice note, so I just do this, press that button down and go, hello, this is a voice note from Andre Walker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I press release, that goes immediately through to the studio and we can play it out live. So if you're a bit nervous about talking, it's a great way of doing it. Don't bother sending text messages in, it's just easier. And we've got one now from Wayne. Come on, Wayne, go for it.
Good evening, Andre. It's Wayne from Erdington, mate, in Birmingham. You're on about like the Muslim situation. Listen, we're amongst it, mate. It's like it's a Muslim state where I live. It's run by Muslims everywhere around the area. It's like Muslim orientated. You have to always include the imam. Nonsense, mate. He said, you know, I'm British, I'm English. Let's have our rights. Let's have our rights. I don't give a monkeys about these like Muslims.
Well, let's be clear, that is some throaty oratory and right-wing theory, isn't it? There from Wayne. But it's absolutely right. Look, I'm not being critical of people, but obviously when people take over a particular area numerically, and they're not doing it deliberately, then they will want things run in their own way. And if their own way is quite alien to Britain, then it will feel alien for those people, that small number of people who are left there. OK, let's go to Heather in Gavan. Heather, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've been listening to both Kevin and Georgina, and I totally agree what Georgina was saying. We need to also think about our kids in school and our kids in primary school. What about their future? Are they going to have a future in this country with all these people keep on flooding in? Taking all these houses, taking all the opportunity away from our kids in schools in this country. Nobody's even thought about the children in primary schools, the babies that we've got in this country, and plus the children in high school. If this government keeps on going, robbing our kids of a future in this country, they're not going to get nowhere. It's going to be finding it hard for our own children to get any jobs.
Yeah, what about if we set up a housing association that was Christian only? What if we set up scholarships to Oxford that were for white people only? What if we said that applications to BBC apprenticeships were particularly welcome from white heterosexual children or young people? What would happen? You'd be locked up.
I know. It's like white prejudice. It's like we are completely... It's white racism. It's a complete bigotry against white minority in our country. We have been racially attacked by our own, by the government, by the authorities, by all these employers trying to when white people want to get a job and they says, oh no, we're only going for a majority of quotas of
diversity, inclusivity, yeah.
Equity, inclusion quotas, and that's what they're saying to the white people. They're saying that, and the same goes with that West Yorkshire police saying, they're making it legal for not employing white people in the police force. There you go again with that white prejudice in the police force as well. We have been racially attacked by every corner of this country. It's white racism.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It absolutely is.
And
Heather.
I say we need white. It's like, do you know when they had Black Lives Matter?
Oh, if you set up White Lives Matter, they'd throw you in prison.
It's going to happen. It's one of these days. It will happen that white lives do matter in this country.
I worry about children in school who are being taught that they were born evil because the colour of their skin being white.
Oh, God, that is sick. It's disgusting. No wondering why the teachers are so sick in their heads, indoctrinating children in their beliefs, in their political beliefs, and all the crap that they're saying to the children.
But when
kids are going to be so confused as it is, and they're going to be even more confused when they leave school.
Martin Luther King said that people should be judged by the contents of their character, not the colour of their skin. Most schools now, most local councils, and certainly the British government do not agree with that. What they say is that you should be judged, first of all, by the colour of your skin, and secondly, by the contents of your character.
Do you know what? When I look at this, I thought employing the right people into any jobs, either in the police force, military, air force, or whatever, even in industry, it doesn't matter what the colour of your skin is, as long as you can do the job. It doesn't matter if you're white, if you can do the job, fair enough.
All right, thank you, Heather. That's Heather in Cavan. We've now got Darren in Bermuda. Darren, you're on talk.
Hello, how are you?
I'm not bad.
Good. So I am an English citizen. I've grown up in England from 1975 until 15 years ago when I left the country and I moved to Bermuda. Now, I didn't move to Bermuda because I didn't like England. I moved to Bermuda because of an opportunity.
Yeah.
And since then, very recently, I've started listening to your radio station.
Thank you.
And we are very enclosed here. We are wrapped in cotton wool. We are a small country, which is a British overseas territory, in the middle of nowhere. Yes. Most people in America don't even know who Bermuda is.
Yes.
Right? And apart from the Bermuda Triangle, which most of them don't even understand what that is anyway. But the point being is, I grew up in a society in the UK where we were proud to be from the UK.
Yes.
We were proud to be British. A lot of people have mentioned the word English. We are British.
Yes.
We are.
Well, I don't love my country. I love the United Kingdom, which is quite typical for an English person.
The United Kingdom. There is no separation anymore. Scottish, Welsh, English. We are the United Kingdom, and we're proud to be. And even when we grew up, there used to be quite a lot of banter between the Scottish and the Welsh, but it was just that. It's just banter. But now, even listening to yourselves talking, I feel like there's almost we're inciting a riot.
Yes.
Because everybody is so dishevelled with the situation that there could almost be an act of civil war.
Well, I think what most people believe.
That's strong.
No, but I think what most people believe, Duncan, is that there will be a mass terrorist attack at some point, and then there will be a response which will be non-violent, but the police and the military will put it down with some considerable venom, and that is when it will kick off.
Andre, my name is Darren, not Duncan.
Oh, sorry, Darren. Sorry, I couldn't see.
Yeah. So, yes, but we don't want that. We don't want vigilantes.
Of course not.
It is becoming to that point where the government can't govern. And I love my country. I love my country. I love where I grew up in Essex. It is adorable. It is fantastic. The weather's poo, but that's not the point.
Whereabouts in Essex did you grow up, by the way?
Just outside Chelmsford.
Oh, okay. So I've got a friend who's bought Beeley Abbey. Do you know where that is?
I do, because I lived in Malden. I grew up in Malden.
My mates bought Beeley Abbey. It's an amazing place.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not joking. In fact, I went for a weekend there recently.
That is the most amazing. So Beeley Abbey used to be owned by the monks, and there used to be tunnels under
And then it was owned by the guy who owned Foyle's bookshop.
Yes.
Can I tell you, I got invited for a weekend there, and I stayed in one of the rooms that was stayed in by the king, and we had an amazing. I mean, it is just an amazing place, and the gardens and all that sort of thing. Crazy. I won't say he's bought it, but it's a good friend of mine.
Well, but this is the point, right? So back in the day, you have Beowulf, who was the Viking guy who come down the Blackwater estuary, and we have such history and such love for our country, and we're lucky enough in Malden that we're not quite, because we don't have a train station.
No.
So we're not getting
I've heard that said before. I remember the good people of Romford when they didn't want to be on the tube.
yeah, we don't. Anyway, that's we're going off on a tangent here, but I lived and I was brought up in such a beautiful, lovely nation that it's being destroyed. And I love my country, but I would never go back there now.
No.
Never. I couldn't return. Bermuda, I can leave my front doors open in Bermuda, and my front doors would never be opened by anyone else apart from the people who I want to open them.
Indeed. All right, look, I'm going to go to break, but thank you so much for calling from Bermuda. I mean, there you go. Patriotic people are fleeing the country. He hasn't. He left 15 years ago before a lot of this trouble started. But nonetheless, how many of you, I wonder, are thinking of leaving the country? How many of you are making secret plans? How many of you are worried about what's going on? There we go. 0344 499 1000. Just to remind you, Danielle Nichols and I are on at 10 o'clock tomorrow, or 10 o'clock later today, if you see what I mean. New Year's Eve for our New Year's Eve show. Please, please, please support it. I'm going to get these lazy gits to get the phone lines open at 9:30 so we can start lining up calls before the show even starts. Whether they'll agree to that or not, I don't know. 0344 499 1000. I'm back in a mo.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker. Do you know what I should have done? I told you about the voice notes, because now a number of them have come in. We're processing them as we speak. Please do send more if you want. Let's go to the first one, which is from Wayne.
Oh, the effing hell was that silly little sausage? Get him off, Andre.
OK, I think that will have been a reference to Kevin, who said it doesn't matter if London ceases to be British. Look, he's only expressing the view of the people in power in this country. OK, let's go to George next.
Hi, Andre. I don't know what your previous caller, Kevin, was smoking, but I think it needs to be immediately classified as a Category A substance. Completely disagree with what he said. Hope you're having a good night, and Happy New Year to you all at Talk.
Thanks so much. Let's go for Wise Lady. Okay. I love the way we're going quite slow. Let's go to Robert in Hertfordshire. Bob, you're on talk.
I don't really want to waste my time talking about that Bert Kevin, but he is what's wrong with this country. He can't even comment. He don't live in London. He's got a job. Oh, well done. You've got a job and you don't live in London, but you've got a bigger opinion.
Well, to be fair, most people commute into London because of a job. The people that work there, from what I can live there, from what I can see, don't have a job.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm in Hertfordshire now, but I'm born and bred in London. Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
I was interested to listen to Charlie Mullins tonight. I used to work for him years ago.
Did you?
Back in the day, yeah. Nice guy, but he won't remember me. But his prices were a bit tight, but it was class work what we got. But what interested me when he said he was back in Ant Middleton to run against the mayor. No, I disagree. Layla Cunningham is going to be the Reform candidate, and she is a firebrand.
I thought they hadn't selected yet.
Well, I've been told and reading by. Well, I don't think I made it up.
Well, no, I don't know.
Official. I mean, she should be. The only reason I would. I'm not going to get a vote anyway because I don't live in London. But the only reason is, I mean, she's a prosecutor. She's a barrister.
So just to be clear, Layla Cunningham is her name, right?
Yeah.
Forgive my ignorance. I don't know who this lady is.
Oh, look her up, mate. Not only that, listen, I want to apologise because she is an absolute salt. I don't want to remain. I don't want to appear sexist, but in news.
Listen. Can I tell you? The women that complain about people saying they're attractive are the ugly ones that no one ever says it to. They're all like, oh, I don't like men wolf whistling at me. Never happens, Betty. Never happens. Oh, with the blue hair and the, and that thing on the neck. What is that? What is that?
Well, there's in news television. There's three right sorts. One of them works with you, Daniela.
Yeah.
The other one is GB News, is Michelle Dewsbury, absolute soul.
Yeah.
And the other one, you have to Google Layla Cunningham.
All right, I'll do that while you talk. Go on. By the way, my producers. By the way, can I be honest with you? My producer mocking me because I know everything about every subject, but nothing about people. So I didn't know Layla Cunningham this, but I'm told she's on this channel all the time. She's good mates with Alex Phillips. She's absolutely brilliant. Everybody in this building knows who she is, other than me.
She destroyed Jeremy. What you're going to have to do, Google or go on YouTube and see. I mean,
to be fair,
Jeremy Corbyn. Sorry.
To be fair, she's bar eat, isn't she, as they say up north?
Oh, mate, she will give Angela Jolie a run for her money. She's an absolute beauty. But so is Daniela.
I'll tell you what I always said. I remember saying to Susan Hall, who I think was a disgrace as the Conservative candidate, didn't really do anything. I said, what you've got to do, I've watched Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan is a spoilt brat. You can tell his mum loves him very, very much, right? But he's never been told no. What you do, if you go into a debate with Sadiq Khan, you tear his face off minute one, right? Don't even bother with the niceties. Just go for him. Because what will happen is you'll go, oh, well, we're all trying to do our best for London. He'll go, no, I am, and you're not. So it's better to just go, I would start, whatever question I got asked in a debate against Sadiq Khan, I'd say that he has killed black teenagers because of his inability and unwillingness to deal with knife crime. I just go straight for him. And if she does that, she'll beat him. Because he'll get upset.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to watch her in action. She's brilliant. Although she does work for the enemy a lot. She's on GB News quite a bit, actually.
Well, I can live with that.
She destroys these left-wingers. She just eats them for breakfast. But she was a prosecution barrister. I wouldn't have liked to have been up against her. Oh, my God.
Great. All right, Bob, thank you so much. Let's go for that voicemail from Wise Lady.
Hi, guys. Enjoying the show. Bit worried. Not heard from Ken recently. Has he gone to Lapland?
I believe so. Ken does get in touch with me, and I'll show you Ken's messages. He sends an enormous quantity of videos about Christianity and so on and so forth, and stuff he's been up to. So my assumption is that Ken is with his family and he's not phoning and listening as a result of that. That's my assumption. But don't worry. Mind you, we have lost some people. Do you remember that woman who worked for the Duke of Edinburgh, who we're now fairly certain we're fairly certain died, and we never got told? Because obviously, people who phone in the show regularly, their family don't necessarily know that they phone in the show regularly. So there you go. But Ken has not died. Ken is very much alive and very much spreading the word of the Lord. Okay, let's go to John in Staffordshire.
How are you doing? All right.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I'm not bothered.
All right. Well, that's all I can do for Staffordshire. All right. I only know a couple of things about Staffordshire, and one of them's Alton Towers. Don't go, it's crap.
All the best. Yeah, I live about 4 miles away from there. All the best for New Year, by the way.
Thank you. Are you phoning tomorrow night?
Pardon?
We're on tomorrow night from 10 o'clock.
I might do, yes. I might do. I was going to phone up. You were on about, earlier on, you were on about migrants.
Yes.
And I've got an interesting story for you.
Yes.
Very interesting. And the press need to interview it. I've got a mate, I'm ex-forces, and we all still network together, like people who were all in. And he works for, I've got to be very careful, I don't want to drop him in it. He works for an MOD site down south in London.
Yeah.
Basically, the Home Office has been round his site, looking at the site to assess whether it's suitable for migrants or not.
Yes.
Sorry, immigrants, like the boat people. And he had to go around with, let's just say, a high-ranking army officer. I don't want to say his rank.
Yeah, sure.
It'll let loose who he is. And basically, the Home Office walked around with this army officer, and they were looking at the site to see whether it was suitable to house migrants.
Amazing.
Right.
So we're now actual infrastructure that is being used by the MOD at the moment is now going to be repurposed for migrants.
Well, here's the killer.
Go.
He actually walked round because he works in the guard room, my mate. He had to walk round and open up all the old barrack blocks where the army lads used to live and laughed. And the Home Office went, this isn't good enough. We're going to have to spend millions of pounds to get this up to scratch.
Unbelievable.
Or we're going to have to put them in accommodation in hotels. And this army officer blew his lid, apparently, and went, hang on. We had army lads and lasses paying for their accommodation and for their food on this camp 4 years ago, and it's not good enough for migrants.
Exactly, and I bet it made absolutely no difference. Thank you, John. Let's go to Phil in Worthing as our final call. Phil, how are you?
Andre, how are you, buddy?
I'm all right, mate.
You're all right, mate. Hey, where's Bubba? What's he up to?
Oh, God knows. He's probably sat around with his dubious vape, right? claiming it's nicotine, right? Going, oh Bubba, oh yeah. As the night goes on, he becomes less and less lucid, right? That's what he'll be doing.
I've got to be honest. I have missed him, but yeah, no, what a tour de force with Phil Dave this week. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, he stepped in.
Yeah, I just thought Wayne was an interesting caller, called in from my home city, Birmingham, bless him, and he made a very quick and clear statement, and I just thought I'd answer the question, not answer the question, but just throw some mathematics at it. 1970, 7,000 Pakistanis in Birmingham. Same population as now, 325,000.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Everyone thinks we've got a downer on Muslims, Pakistanis, Bangladesh.
No.
It's not. My view is we should not be moving white people, British people, to Lahore to spread Christianity. And so I just think what is great about humanity is that every different place has its own culture and its own language and its own history.
Here. I just thought, as the last caller, I'd say Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Are you calling tomorrow?
I am. Everybody in the country, and we're looking forward to